and everyone can watch your gameplay as opposed to CDs and DVDs and VHS tapes.
VHS, yeah, that was back in the day. I had to mail in a VHS, but so yeah, it's definitely wide open. People can read up on the techniques and watch the techniques. So if you're a young player going for the record, you have definitely that advantage. You don't have to just learn it on your own.
That'd be
very difficult.
Have you learned anything new since then, or would you say your gameplay of the 3 levels of Donkey Kong has kind of stayed the same, or do you think you've learned something else new?
Yeah, I see them doing things that I didn't do back in the day. There's stuff that I wasn't doing that I knew about when I was getting the 1,064,000. There was techniques of grouping barrels and re-jumping them. I knew about that, but they've taken it to an exponential level now. The way they group them and done all that, it's just crazy. If you watch Robbie and John McCurdy play, the way they regroup these barrels, and they look like they're ready to die every time they do it, but they have every nuance down. They know exactly what the barrels, what they're going to do, and how they group. They will unfortunately have, if you watch them play, they say auto, because the barrels will just steer themselves, so they get kind of screwed sometimes with the grouping. But if you're going to get the 1.3 million, you have to take those chances. So that's why the volume of play is important. You got to play enough games where the probability goes up that you'll get a high score.
Because there's random elements still too with the barrels, right? In terms of the points they put up, right?
Yeah, well, the randomness is more if the barrels go down a ladder or not. You can steer them to a degree, but sometimes you don't even steer them and they'll go down the ladder. So that's where they get screwed. And then the other part is when you hit smash barrels, there is the 300, 500, 800 distribution.
Right. That's what I was talking about.
So
exactly.
Yeah, that's exactly. You can't control that, but hopefully that over the long stretch of a game is about even for all players.
This was going to ask, because does that drive, like that you said 3, 5, 800 points from the barrels, right? Is that what's making the difference? Like what's kind of widening that gap with those scores once you get into like the 1 to 1.3 million mark?
Yeah, it's the barrel screen where they're averaging. They can get like 14,000 or up to that. I can get that, but not on a regular basis like they do.
Do you think?
And then also the Pie Factory, before it was you just want to get to the top fast, and now they will grab the hammer that's on the first conveyor belt regularly. Just because you have the chance of hitting a number of pies. And you get a bunch of 800s on those pies, you can get like 12 grand or so on a Pie Factory, versus if you race to the top, it's like 8,500. So there's the margin of where you make up a lot. And the elevators, they're able to get to the, if you don't know the elevator screen, it doesn't make much sense what I'm saying, but there's a purse that's up at the top right where they can jump and leech. They get 100 for each spring. They don't miss any points going to that purse and back. So I don't get the purse at this point in my game, but if I were to get towards the record, I would definitely need to reinvent my elevators.
How you play that level.
So there's those, that's not as big a deal as basically the barrels and the pie board. And then the rivet board is anybody's guess what's going to happen there. You're just hoping that you don't get screwed on the rivets.
Do you think with the kill screen being involved at the end of it, a certain limit is going to be reached by a player that, the only way to beat it is to tie it, essentially? Do you think it'll reach that point at some case?
Well, there is a theoretical maximum. If you took the highest board ever for each type of board, like if you got I think Robbie Lakeman got 19,000 on a barrel board because they discovered a technique of there's a fireball that you can have it freeze at the top near the ladder, and you can leech points off of that.
It's wild. Man. How do people do this?
I don't know. If you play a lot and you're looking to, back in the day, I wasn't trying to point press to that extreme, but now you have to get that extra edge. So these people are finding different things. And then you can also jump a barrel twice
Right.
on the top level, and the barrels you have to or you basically jump it. I guess it would be
If you jump to the side.
you jump backwards when
Right.
it's right at your feet, and then you jump it again when it's going off of the barrel, the top
Platform to the right.
platform to the right. So it's like there's a little place there where you can leach it 100 points again. It only happens on that very edge of the girder on the top right. It happens on other girders, I guess, but the top right is where it's safest when you're not dealing with fireball. So if you do that, you can get 200 for every barrel. So Robbie got like 19,000 or something on a barrel. So if you extrapolate that times, every level has 3 barrels. So if you're looking at 3 times 19,000 plus the best ever on a pie factory, I don't know what that is, but say it's like 15,000. And then you get the best on the elevator screen, and then the best rivet. Then, I mean, that's unreasonable. The chances of getting ideal situations through
On all those boards.
2.5, always come together is like not going to happen. It's like not realistic. So the theoretical maximum is like, I don't know what it would be, like 1.5 million, but no one's going to come close to that. I think the 1.3 million is within reason, and these guys are still pushing it, still playing. I look and I see Robbie Lakeman's on Twitch or John McCurdy. I follow those guys, but I haven't been able to watch them lately. But they're still getting scores. They're inching it up towards 1.3 million, and I'm sure that if they keep at this, they'll do it.
And I have to imagine that stuff like you just find by accident, right? Like you do it once, you're like, wait, what just happened? Or do you think it's hey, I wonder if I can make this happen and then reproduce it?
I think a couple of things. I heard about the double barrel jump. Someone like thought they could do it because they could do it in another Mario game, and they go, "Hey, let's try this," and it worked. And then, and then the fireball where it freezes. That's just you recognize at one point when it gets to the top level, and sometimes it's above you and you get screwed. But if you are able to get by it, you notice it's sitting there and it kind of oscillates a few inches left and right, but it never will go farther than a certain point to the left. So you can sit there and jump it, and then you can jump a barrel with it for 300. So you can sit there and just scab points for the rest of the screen as long as another barrel doesn't come up. So someone just recognized that that's an ability to do that. I don't know if it was Robbie or someone else, but Robbie seems like the first player I saw him do it a lot. So it's just something they see, and then they try to exploit that, and if it works, then they keep trying to do it.
I mean, for such a basic game, so many like intricate things with it. I gotta wonder though, has there been? I mean, you said you took a break because you don't have time and the family to play the game. Has there ever been a point with specifically Donkey Kong or any other game where you're just like, I can't play this anymore. I gotta step away. This is I've had enough. Like that kind of getting that kind of point to it, like frustration level, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wasn't. Well, at 10 years ago, I got the $1,064,000 and got first place again. And then at that point, I was like, okay, I've done it twice, so to do this again, I would have to invest. Every time I have to grind out day after day in the garage, and it becomes just overwhelming and a daunting task. So
you can't really enjoy it.
I said, I'm done. I can't keep this up, so I'll let the record go, and and I wasn't passionate about it anymore because I'd done what I'd sought out to do. And so you got to have the true passion to keep those hours up. You got to really be dedicated and driven. So it's like if you're a chess player, you have to be obsessed and just constantly thinking chess all the time if you're going to be the top. And at this point, I can't dedicate my life to Donkey Kong. So
What do you got, stuff going on or what? Jeez.
I have other stuff going on.
What's that?
So cool. No, I hate to admit it, but I mean I kind of prior to the interview I did Wikipedia you, and I noticed one thing. Yeah, whatever. I noticed one thing. I'm very curious if there's some stories behind this. The director of King of Kong, you were also working with him on other films such as Horrible Bosses and Pixels. Can you share any experiences of working on those two movies?
Oh yeah, Horrible Bosses was Seth Gordon. He got a bunch of directing gigs after The King of Kong, so he kind of made it a point to just bring me on in cameo appearances,
Oh, nice.
kind of as a
Is that
good
Seth
luck charm.
Rogen?
Is
You
what,
talking about Seth
No,
Rogen?
Seth Gordon.
Gordon? Oh.
So you're
Seth
kind of
Gordon,
like
yeah.
Oh, sorry, sorry.
I'm trying to think of the brother's name, but James Gunn always has his brother in all of his movies. So you're that. So you're kind of like the hidden character with that, with the
Kinda like
Seth
Stan
Gordon
Lee.
film.
Alfred Hitchcock. Yeah, where's
right.
Steve Wiebe?
There you
Where's
go.
Waldo?
There you go.
So that was cool, and it's kind of stopped, leveled off. I haven't had a gig for a while, so I kept my day job. But Horrible Bosses was fun.
a good movie.
That was at the very beginning scene. So if you walk in late to the movie theater, you missed it. I was the security guard, and Jason Bateman comes running in late, and he says, "Hey," and I can't even remember my name in the movie, but
Steve, maybe?
I go,
Was it Steve?
"Better hurry."
Well, you get to share a scene with Jason Bateman. I mean, that's,
Wait, what was the line? You better hurry. Is that what you say?
I go, "Better hurry, Nick," because I remember his name was Nick. And then the odd thing is, the voice, when I watched it, this doesn't sound like my voice, so they might have overdubbed
Oh man, they
someone
ADR'd
else's
you.
voice
Oh,
in. So I don't know what happened.
These pretzels are making Steve thirsty. he's. I can see you at home, like talking to your wife. So here's how I'm gonna say it. Does this sound
Yeah.
about right?
So that was my first. Actually, before that, I was in Four Christmases, which was a month
Oh,
long.
okay.
The Vince Vaughn, Reese Witherspoon.
Vince Vaughn, yeah,
Yeah.
Reese Witherspoon. That was a good time. I was they put me up in a place that in Hollywood for a month.
Oh man,
Was staying there, kind of a
High
little
life.
bachelor pad, and I got to hang out with like Kristen Chenoweth and Mary Steenburgen,
Get outta here.
and
Oh my gosh.
talked with John Voight. They had, there were so many stars in that movie. So that was a good time.
That's
and then
cool.
the Pixels, Adam Sandler was in that with
Yeah.
Josh Gad, and I got to play a 2-on-2 basketball game with Adam. He was my teammate.
Really?
And we played against a couple of his the technicians on the film.
Wait, you played
We-
2-on-2 basketball with Adam Sandler?
I've heard he is like
Yeah.
the nicest guy in the world too. Like,
He's a great guy. Yeah, he was so cool. So he was the post player. I was the outside shooter.
oh,
like
we
how this
took
is
him
even
down.
a thing.
so he was the Wesley Snipes while you were the Woody Harrelson. I like how
Yeah.
that's going.
And I can't jump either, so
You're shooting from the perimeter.
Who
You
won?
don't need to.
Who won the match?
we won. Yeah, we played him a couple different times. We beat him, so we had a
Nice.
good
Bringers.
chemistry.
Very nice.
Cool experience.
Very nice.
I'm just trying to visualize this right
That's awesome. Like, I
That's
didn't
hilarious.
expect to hear a
I-
basketball story with Adam Sandler. That's really slick.
now. No, that's pretty amazing.
You guys got anything right
No,
now? or,
another question coming in from the chat too online. Any updates with your music? I know we talked about this too before we
Yeah,
were bringing
I-
you on. That you dabble in some music. Any updates with what you're working on?
Yeah, I put out another CD, vocal CD. It's not me singing, just it was like in April, I think it was now. So it's called Years Gone By. You can look at it on iTunes or Spotify. So if you
Okay.
check it out, yeah, there's eight songs. Again, I wrote the music and the lyrics, but I didn't sing on it. But I played all the instruments. They're actually most of them are virtual instrument where you play on the keyboard and then you trigger a sound. The sounds are so realistic nowadays. So like guitars can be triggered through a music library. You just play the part
Okay.
on keyboard and then you can just run it through you get this software that has all these sounds. So it sounds like a real guitar to me. I mean, maybe a real guitarist would be able to tell a little bit, but it's hard to, it's very convincing.
So
these
you're
are
doing
real instruments.
everything at that point, like drums, guitar, piano, like any.
Yeah, drums, bass, guitar, any lead guitar, strings. The strings are really convincing as well. Everything sounds so good nowadays. So the real musicians probably think it's sacrilege, that's like using these virtual instruments. But I don't have the time, I have the time, but the money to hire studio musicians and to rent a studio space, that's beyond my budget, so I can't afford that.
I can only imagine trying to sync that up. Like I would imagine you play all instruments separately and then you sync them together for the song? Would that be accurate
Yeah.
in saying that?
Well, there's a grid where you have a tick, a ticker.
Like a metronome
where
type of thing, or
So you just play one part and you can hear it, and then you can play the next part right with it. So it's not like you're blindly playing each part. You can
okay.
play it as you're hearing the other parts you put down.
So for those in the studio, this is John back in the booth. Steve, you ever want to get together and jam? You let me know.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah,
I'm on
that'd be
it.
fun.
I'm on it.
I was going to selfishly plug you, John. So we
Thank
got
you,
John.
awesome.
He's our audio and tech and everything guy this weekend, and we
Working
are
out.
broadcasting from his basement. And he's got and I've told people, I'll say he's got a setup you wouldn't believe, and I knew you were going to chime in and say that, John, too. So I might have to follow up on that. Help
Yeah,
you
now I'm
out,
curious
Steve.
about Steve's setup, though.
Yeah. So what's
Do you
your
play
setup
guitar?
like? What do you got? At
I
home?
play drums. That's my first instrument, drums.
Oh yeah, you see that in the film.
Well, I'm a drummer and then classically trained in piano, and then I fool around with guitar. So
You're probably better at piano than I am. I just the way I have to play piano on I hate to admit this, but when I play the piano on my music that I record, I have to do little bits and pieces because there's no way I'm going to get through a 3.5, 4-minute song without messing up. So I have to just basically play it each chord. Sometimes I just have to punch in a chord because I can't get from one chord to the other without messing my fingers up. So I'd probably have to be the drummer.
That's cool.
that's okay. We can make it work. You let me
Rock
know.
out to Beethoven then.
Yeah, is there
Or
a certain
Mozart.
type of genre of music? I mean, you would be interested in playing with that? Like, would it be classical, or would you guys
Well,
go?
I'm a big Rush fan.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Well, I played drums in a cover band, and we did a lot of Rush and Zeppelin. So
All right.
Yeah,
I'm on it.
Zeppelin too. Yeah, those bands that's where I grew up. With those
All right,
bands.
you
I don't
guys
think
get
there's
together
any
offline
real-
and set up some kind of date, will you?
The
You know, the two of you
bromance,
guys.
Yeah.
we will.
So if I'm in are you all in Cleveland, right?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So if I ever go there, I'll look you up.
There you go.
for sure.
Maybe if the Seahawks come play the Browns one year in Cleveland.
That's an easy win for Seattle. You wouldn't want that. You don't want that.
What's the score of the Browns game right now? They're playing at home.
I haven't looked up. They could. I don't know. They're probably losing. Well, it's
They're playing
against
the
Philly,
Eagles.
so I
They
mean,
could
Yeah.
beat the Eagles.
Come on.
yeah, they should beat the Eagles, but keyword should. I can have a score update in a second. But
I'll get you an update.
all right, but jeez, I kind of got off track here for a sec.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah. Trying to think. Are you playing any? Are you still gaming, or is it just on the back burner right now and just enjoying life?
It's on the back burner. Maybe I'll fire it up over the winter break when I have a couple weeks where I can get on Twitch and start streaming again. So I'll hopefully do a few games over the Christmas break.
Is it still retro gaming, or have you tried to play some of the new stuff that's out? No.
Yeah, it's all retro. Mainly Donkey Kong is what I've been playing. I can play Junior on.
I was going to ask about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Junior would be the other game I have in my cabinet, but I don't have any other games, and I don't dislike the modern games. I just haven't got into it. Probably just like most of the modern game players don't have really a care to play Donkey Kong, except a few of them might delve into it.
Well, I was going to ask
Speaking
about
of,
yeah.
Junior. John just brought this out.
Yeah, we got
Replica
Oh yeah, that's a
DK
little
Junior.
mini Junior. Yeah, that's cool.
authentic one. But I was going to ask about Junior because I actually was checking out scores on TG before coming on. It looks like a lot of those records are older that are out there too. There's some out there in the top 10 from like 83 to early 2000s to 90s. I mean, are not a lot of people playing it? Like I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
There's a few. It's not as glamorous
Right.
to get a high score on Junior, so people don't want to ruin their lives, so to speak, going after a Junior
That's what
score.
you'd
So
rather-
But that's
Bluntly.
yeah.
It's honest, but
yeah,
I mean, people that want to get in the Guinness Book of World Records kind of try to ruin their lives getting into it.
But I mean, Donkey Kong, even when King of Kong came out, that put it on the map, right? I mean, there wasn't. It created that. I mean, the Kong off and everything. What was that
Kong
scene
off?
like? The Kong off. That scene was that happening? That was happening before King of Kong, right?
oh,
no, there was no competitive Donkey Kong tournaments before.
Ah, okay.
It was sparked by the King of Kong movie. So Richie Knuckles,
Right.
who has his arcade in
Mm-hmm.
New Jersey, there was trying to get this together, and he's done it. And there's been like 7 of them. I've made most of them. A couple I couldn't get out to the venue, but and of course we can't do it now during this time. But hopefully they do another one. The last one was in. They had a couple in Pittsburgh. There was, I think, the last one they had might have been back in New Jersey.
Okay. But that's the
But
thing.
that's
Like,
a long haul. I have to like leave on a Friday after school because they usually do it in March, and then I have to leave on Sunday afternoon. I mean, it's like I have to travel across the states
That's
and then
no
get
fun
back
to
to
even
teach on Monday. It's
enjoy
kind of
things.
brutal for me.
and you're exhausted.
Yeah, that's
then you have
not-
to tell your
Yeah.
students, "I'm sorry, playing Donkey Kong all weekend. I'm tired."
Yeah. Sorry, I can grade your tests.
Right. They know, like, okay, he's gonna be really tired on Monday. No, but I mean, I bring it up because I feel like King of Kong set that stage, right? I mean, and you kind of wonder if there's going to be a next one. What is the next one, right? Is it Junior? You know, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I don't know. I've always wondered, is it always going to be Donkey? Like, it's got that cult following, obviously, now, right? Because of everything. But
Yeah, I think the Donkey Kong's in the limelight. The junior score, there's a few people that have tried to go after it, and I've thought about doing that because it's more doable than
Right.
probably because there's not as many players going after it. But
exactly.
but still, I don't know. I don't have time to even go after the junior one. So if I'm gonna do a score, I'm gonna do Donkey Kong first, and then I would go to junior if that ever takes place. And then I was gonna do Popeye at one time, but that's like in the third.
I sent you my video. You know, you can watch my gameplay. Well, the score for Popeye, I mean, it's insane. I forget who holds it offhand, but I know I think mine's on anyway. I think it's 2x mine at a minimum.
Yeah. So and then how long would that game take?
My
That's like-
gameplay, I played mine to get to like 770. I think it was about 45 to 50 minutes. So it's not.
Well, that's not.
It's not
too bad,
terrible.
yeah. So I was gonna do that, but is it more pattern? Would you say there's a lot of patterns? Like if I were to
No.
just watch your play, I could mimic it, or is there a lot of intuition and improvising that you need to be able to do?
It's all controlling Bluto. That's what it is. Once you learn how to control Bluto, and then on the pirate ship stage, it's maximizing the points on the bird at the top, at the
So
vulture.
So the which is at the easiest stage, the one with the pirate ship, because it's
Yes.
more controllable.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just have to learn the pattern at the top with the letters, where to stand, right? And then again, timing your moving of that paddle back and forth across the top to maximize the points. But
Yeah.
I honestly find like I probably die more at the beginning because there are no skulls. So it throws off your pattern because the gameplay is slower. So I often die probably the most on the first level or two because I'm like anticipating the future levels and the speed of the future levels, right?
Yeah. The sea hag is where I got the skulls. Throwing those out is where I couldn't get by it. But of course, I didn't work as hard as I should have at it to get through it. But
And
so it's not so bad once you figure it out.
Correct. Yeah, it's not so bad once you figure it out. And basically, from all the gameplay I've watched too, is like avoid on the Sea Hag on level 1. Once she comes out, you basically want to avoid that right side of the stage. You always want to stay left of the bucket. So
Okay. There's this place to be, not to be. Okay.
correct.
I'll
You
have
can
to watch
basically
their
control
gameplay then, yeah.
Bluto. You can basically control Bluto by where you stand, and then send him back or forth one way or the other. So once you figure out that pattern, yeah.
And then he jumps down though, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. Yeah, but you control all that, right? I mean, you know that. You
Yeah.
control him where he
Okay.
jumps, but yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I'll have to look. So it's pretty. If
It's doable. You can control
it's
it.
doable. So when you died, it was mainly a blunder on your part. It wasn't like you were.
Correct.
caught on-
I'd say it's you
yeah.
throw out. There is a pattern, right? He does the same pattern every time, but the thing is, you have so many variables. You've got it's probably the same as Donkey Kong, right? You've got the bottles, and then you've got the sea hag skulls, and then you've got the hearts that are falling to time it, right? So you have to know because all the hearts come out in the same order, and there's some are slow, some are fast. So you have to know where to stand to grab what heart at what time, and you always anticipate the bottles that he's throwing. And once you figure it out, you can kind of just keep looping it up and down, up and down, up and down.
And it stays the same.
It does.
For like
Yes.
level
Forever.
Yeah.
Forever.
Wow.
So once you
Maybe I'll
get
have to look into
once you get level 1 done, once the sea hag's out and that first stage, it's always the same pattern.
Cool. I'll have to try and look into that. I know the monitor is sideways, so I would have to rotate my monitor every time. I
Oh
played.
god, yeah, that'd be a pain in the butt. But
Is
yeah,
Get a new
the next
monitor.
game you're going to try for the high score, Steve?
Just to beat Tom's. I think so.
yeah, you should beat my
just-
score,
yeah.
Steve.
That's a challenge there. I'll take
you
you
can
up
do
on
it.
it. If I can get a yeah.
And I have not played Popeye if my wife's watching. I mean, she tells me all the time, like, oh, I'm sure it's the same with you, right? I mean, that's why, honestly, I've always felt like I can relate to Steve a little bit to you, because it's like, when you put up a good score, I probably haven't played since then. Because it's like I put up that high score, I walked away, and I'm like, okay, I'm in the top 10. I feel good about that. And you can't, then I'm like, I can't get back to it. I can't concentrate. I'll pick it up when I'm ready, so.
Sure. So is that still top 10? I imagine there's not a lot of.
Yeah, there's not a lot. I think I'm either 8 or 9 right now. I don't think there's a lot of people actively playing it. I know there's one other guy Max. Is it Max? Can't remember his name off the top of my head. I'll look it up here while we're talking. But yeah, there's not a lot of active people playing it.
Yeah, so that would be a reason to go after, try to get in the top 10. So maybe if I can I'd probably buy another cabinet and put it in the garage with my Donkey Kong. So
yeah, what's one more?
That's something I'll look into, yeah.
They're pretty cheap.
I was going to suggest maybe for a future Cleveland Gaming Classic, bringing Steve in and just having a live Popeye off. Popeye.
Are you just trying to embarrass me now in front of Steve?
You could start
you're saying
watch
you're
and
gonna
take
a
your
new
time.
documentary.
But that's what I'm saying. Like
you train me on Popeye. That would be a new documentary. I have no clue of the game, and you start training me like Rocky.
Jeez. Mickey Goldmill.
Yeah.
We need to bring in some. I don't know. Could we bring in Billy Mitchell to be Clubber Lang at that point? He could.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't say Drago, but Clubber Lang has more dialogue. So
Thunderlips.
Yeah,
Very-
Ben Falls
Ooh.
has the record, and he's held it for forever. I think. I'm looking here as we're talking. Go ahead, Kevin. Sorry.
no, I mean,
Yeah, I think.
I wasn't really. I didn't really have much to follow up on that, but
Well, we talked a little bit about the size that cabinets take up and the cost, as they go up over the years. What are your thoughts about MAME cabinets, Steve? Is that something you just never deal with, or?
Yeah, I mean, I know they treat MAME on the Donkey Kong forum the same. I have no problem with that. You're still playing the same software, but the hardware, like you're dealing with versus throwing a joystick and moving your fingers between two switches. It's a different mechanics. So if I was me, I mean, I'm not taking away the MAME play, but I think they should, they do on Twin Galaxies, they separate them.
Right.
Okay.
But so I think there's a definite difference because you have a joystick, which is a different movement versus two fingers moving left and right or up or down.
Okay.
It might have been covered in the King of Kong, but I don't recall it. But why Donkey Kong of all the games? Like, was there always like a fascination with the game growing up, or was there I don't know, you just saw the world record and just pointed out I can beat that and roll with that, or was there? I'm just wondering, were you always intrigued with Donkey Kong, or was it just one of those like out of the blue I can do that type of things?
It was something I gravitated towards in the arcades. Like before it came out, I was playing Pac-Man. Mm-hmm. Before Pac-Man, I was playing Asteroids.
Okay.
They finally introduced color into the video games.
Yeah.
Asteroids Deluxe. Did Asteroids Deluxe have color? The second one.
And they might have, had
I
it.
think it
And
did
then
have color.
Space Invaders kind of had a faint green color. It wasn't very colorful, but I played that. I wasn't too good at Space Invaders, but once Donkey Kong came out, there was a group of friends that played it, and I didn't play it yet, and they were talking about it. There was a big buzz, so I played it at, I think it was a Pietro's Pizza in my
It's always a
area.
pizza shop.
I remember I got
Rails
to the
pizza shops.
elevators and couldn't, the timing of jumping on the elevators was difficult.
That had to have been
So-
overwhelming the first few times you see that. It's just those things come so fast, and you got to be like perfect in that, especially in that top area.
Yeah, you're just not used to it's just like you're a fish out of water at first, but then it's just like breathing. After you get playing it enough, it's just natural. The timing just becomes natural. Mm-hmm. So then that was the big game at that time, and I liked it a lot and played it, and that was what I focused on. And then I got to like probably 200,000 back in like 1985. Mm-hmm. And then at that point, I didn't play it because I was into sports and playing high school baseball and basketball. So there wasn't a lot of time to play in the arcades, and arcades were fading out at that time. But then when I went to college, there was a guy in a fraternity it wasn't my fraternity, but a friend of mine had a guy in his fraternity had Donkey Kong. I was like, wow, I didn't know you could. Never thought of buying up my own Donkey Kong. So then I thought of, okay, that's cool. I'm gonna get my own Donkey Kong. And I wasn't thinking about world records at that point, but
No, you get
I
to own a
started-
video game. That's yes.
It's like, this is
Every
cool. We
kid's
own an arcade cabinet, right?
yeah, it's like I didn't know you could do that. Is that legal? So I got one. It was like $400. I paid for it, and then brought it home for a little bit, and then I started playing a lot. Didn't have, I wasn't a working man. I was going to the University of Washington, taking classes. So in my fraternity, I brought it there, and I saw I was getting better, and my scores were going up, and I was getting like 300,000, and pretty soon I was getting 400 and 700,000. There was about 10 of my fraternity brothers would come in there and they'd play as well.
I was going to ask you, what did your frat brothers think about you bringing an arcade cabinet into the house?
They thought it was cool. They would come in. I would come home from class and come in my room. There'd be like 5 guys playing it. So I was like,
Do you
Yeah,
think
that's
that was
cool.
a selling point as to why you were accepted into the fraternity, or this guy's got a cabinet?
it could have been like,
Yeah.
but that was like my junior year that I got it. That was probably 1989, 1990. And then after that, I took it home, and it was like, this was like 1990, 91. And I got to this kill screen I had no idea existed. I was playing along, and then all of a sudden about 937,000 in on it. At the barrel board, that's level 22. I am going along the bottom girder, or the second to the bottom girder, and then I just tumbled and died. And I was like, okay, is there something new here, like an invisible barrel that you just have to know to jump at a certain time?
Yeah, like what is this? Like I know
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
do anything.
I'd go, what the heck, what happened? And I was on my last guy at that point. So I was like, I was trying to get 1 million back then, because I thought turning it over would be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So then I played it again, and I had when that happened again, I was at 960,000, and I had an extra guy in my bank, and I tried to jump at the time I was dying, and I still died. So at that point, I didn't know if it was I thought my game was defective, and I sold it.
yeah. I was gonna say, like, this
Are you
is
serious?
This is pre-internet, so you don't
Yeah.
really know about.
Yeah.
I mean, word of mouth would have to get around for the kill screen.
But you
to be-
sold that cab?
I sold the cab,
Oh, wow.
and then whoever bought it, I don't know if they might have found King of Kong and put 2 and 2 together. Go, this is the original machine that the guy was playing, maybe.
I'd say it's at some
But-
pizza place.
Yeah. Right?
So yeah, it was like before the internet. I was always curious what the world record was. I was like, this has got to be one of the higher scores. I didn't think it was the best in the world. I go, I can't be the best in the world at this. It's not like this is something. I didn't seem special. It seemed good, but I wasn't sure about what the score was. Then I finally looked it up. This was like 10 years later, in like 99ish, and then I found that there was Twin Galaxies, and Billy Mitchell had the score, and that's when I first learned that I go, that's, and then what you said, like, I can break this world record. I go, I might as well buy a machine. I can break. It was like 874,000.
Oh, yeah. So,
And I go, I've done that, and I easily do it again. So
Yeah.
that's how it started.
Were you, I mean, you probably get this a lot, but were you happy after seeing the King of Kong with kind of how they portrayed you in the film? Like, I mean, you came across as Joe Everyman. You were the outsider coming into this world of competitive gaming and trying to legitimize
legitimize.
that word.
I got you. I
That
got
word.
There you go.
A score that
Don't
you,
worry, he's
you
only
know
a
you
teacher.
did. Yeah.
I'm a math teacher. My vocabulary is not the best.
Yeah, I was gonna say guy knows numbers, man. Talking second language. Were you happy with how you looked at in the film? Is what I'm asking.
I was fine. Yeah, I was portrayed like down and out on my luck, like a Charlie Brown.
Yeah.
A little more of this
Your introduction at
emphasized.
the beginning of the film is pretty brutal, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're-
So I'm not that down out.
No.
But
no.
like I said, it's for entertainment.
Right.
Yeah.
They're kind of hyping up one end, like Billy's not that evil. He's not evil. He's just
I
he has his ways about him. So
Right.
they hyped it up to to look sinister, and they made me look like a golden boy.
See, I
For-
always
not
got like I
perfect,
didn't see
but-
him as evil, more like a Michael Scott, like he's just unaware of his effect of around other people and what he says and what he does and
Michael Scarn.
how funny he could come across. I got the guy was
Well-
very entertaining. I'll
Well, I
give him-
always knew he was joking when he said stuff like
oh yeah,
the fortune cookie. I was like, I always laughed, and I knew he was tongue in cheek.
That part.
oh my god. What was the line like? Does someone know I'm here or like something like that? The one I'll never get over is when he's playing. They're playing his video after you broke the record at at Fun Spot, and his response on the phone was like, "Not even Helen of Troy would get more attention than this." I just
Yeah,
cannot stop laughing at that line.
he had some good quotes. Yeah, they're funny. I never got offended by anything he did.
Oh, no.
That's just, and if you saw him in
entertainment, yeah.
person, he has a confidence. He's not like he's
No,
meek
no.
and shy, and that's just the way he is. So
Just like you said, for entertainment purposes only, and obviously not a full portrayal of you or him as a person.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, this is cool.
yeah.
I'm doing a quick time
fantastic.
check here too. I know we got Josh Sway coming in next, producer of Insert Coin, but this has been good. Brent or Kevin, you guys have any other questions?
Yeah, like I said, what
Yeah, go ahead.
is your family members taking an interest in Donkey Kong or trying to beat their old man?
That's a good one. I
Well,
like that.
my son played briefly after the movie came out, and he was, or even during the filming of the movie, I think he was reaching the third elevators and had like a 75,000 score, and I think he can get past it. Not as consistent as you need to. I know Billy's son is like really good at Donkey Kong, so he's learned a lot and perfected improved his game. So I know his son could beat my son, so there won't be a King
No
of
second
Kong
generation
Junior.
anymore.
But that's a good
sequel.
point because I know like there are competitive leagues for like pinball, right, and things broken up by age. I don't know if I've heard of like
Father son.
yeah, no, not even you know what I'm saying. Like I mean, I've got two boys. It'd be cool if they play, but you know, like where you see leagues of people going and competing and kind of knockout tournaments or high score tournaments based on age. I haven't seen that. Have you seen that at all, Steve?
Haven't seen age group. I know there's the Donkey Kong community has a online tournaments that they do,
Oh wow.
which I haven't been able to focus and perform in. I did on the summer. They did one that was like a high score over a 2-week period, and I was playing it during that period, but I wasn't going to beat Robbie or any of those other
Yeah.
top ones. So
Do you find
but they
playing
do have
online
tournaments.
different? Do you find playing online completely different than playing on the cabinet? Like, obviously, there's lag at some points and stuff like that, or is it kind of pretty much the same?
Oh, well, you're playing the game and you see there might be lag for the viewer.
You're
but,
just streaming it out.
Oh,
It's the same, yeah. It's the same play, but I always want to, like, when you're going for a world record, you're taking chances, and I don't want to look bad. Like when I'm playing it with viewers streaming it, and I die for reasons where I'm taking risks. I'm always a little gun shy of trying to take too many risks, because then you flame out at like 400,000, and then people go, "This guy's good," so
What just happened?
yeah, this guy's no good. He can't even
I could
break
beat that
500,000.
score.
They all have that same.
And they
tone of
talk in that
too.
voice. Yeah, I was just gonna say that's always my like jobber voice.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Ooh, the Napoleon Dynamite voice type of.
No, but this has been good, Steve. So anywhere people can like watch, where they can watch you play. I know you mentioned Twitch, right?
Mm-hmm. He's got.
Yeah.
Your
That's about it.
Okay.
I'm not gonna. There's no Donkey Kong tournaments coming to
No,
your
you're good.
city anytime soon. But
Oh,
Would you like to plug anything else? I mean, your music or anything else again, or?
yeah, just check out. Every once in a while, I'll put a YouTube video of my music. I'm writing more instrumentals now because I don't have to hire a singer and save money. So I have some instrumentals out on YouTube. So if you want to check out some of my music on YouTube, you can go there. And
Where can we
Just-
find that? And
I think if you just go Steve Wiebe Music,
okay,
it will show up.
original instrumentals, or are you doing covers?
Yeah, original stuff. So
Lovely.
some of them are large orchestration pieces. Some of them. So I have a variety of different genres I like. So I kind of One of them was it's not on YouTube yet, but a little jazz piece. I was in a jazz band in high school, so
Very nice, very
I
nice.
have a little taste of jazz sometimes. So I'm gonna put some of the more videos up, and then if you want to watch, and you can subscribe. There's a channel. I don't remember what version of my name it's under. Steve J.
Yeah, look it
Weeby or
up. Yeah,
Steve.
right.
Weeby.
There's not
It's
a
like
whole
this-
lot of Steve Weebies out there.
There's a
I would
Steve
imagine.
J. Yeah, there's a Steve J. Weeby.
yeah.
There might be another Steve Weeby.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know there's a tattoo artist, Steve Weeby.
Well, if they get those confused, then I mean,
Yeah.
Good point. Good point.
I don't know
Yeah.
about that one.
Cool. This has been fun.
Yeah.
Brent, anything else?
Nope, that
Good.
was it.
Cool. Well, thanks a lot, Steve.
Thank you for coming,
Appreciate
man.
it.
It's been a delight.
Yeah. Hey, I
Absolutely.
enjoyed my time here. Thanks.
Really appreciate
Thank you
it.
for your raising money for a good cause.
Yeah,
Okay.
everything's going to United Cerebral Palsy at Greater Cleveland again too. So if you can, hit up the website at gamecleveland.com. I've been putting it in chat. Every dollar we raise, and thanks Steve again for coming on and help promote and be part of this. It's been great.
Hope to talk to you again sometime soon.
Thanks, Steve. We'll see you.
Yeah. Thank you. Have a good day.
You
You
too,
too, man.
buddy.
Yep. Goodbye.
Bye bye.
Rena, why don't you tell us your name?
Rena, Jean, or Adini.
Perfect. And how long have you been a client of UCP?
Since 2002.
What do you love the most about UCP?
The therapist.
So can you tell us what you do here at UCP?
Work my butt off.
That's a fair statement. We'll take it. That's a great one. Where have you learned to sing? Like, how do you practice singing?
Through Zoom, but I do private singing lessons.
Can you name some favorite songs or music that you like to listen to?
Probably Taylor Swift.
Oh, nice.
Katy Perry.
Katy Perry.
Sia.
What's one of your favorite Katy Perry songs?
Where
What's that one about?
her boyfriend gets eaten by a tiger in the video.
I love it. I love it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your support.
Midway is the punk rock, you know, they're like the Ramones or the Sex Pistols of the video game industry.
If their game became very successful, you're going to make a lot of money.
He's on fire! I'd buy that for $1.
I always thought with video games, when you make them, somebody would come with this book. This is what we're going to make, and we start page 1 and we start making it. It was never like that. It was like, so what do you guys want to do?
The games are louder, the graphics are more detailed.
More blood, more blood.
Toasty! What game does that?
They've got this game, Mortal Kombat, and you can kill people.
Yeah, isn't that really cool?
What the hell?
We can do whatever we want.
We wanted to crush the player.
We want to give them a greater challenge.
Hasta la vista, baby.
This is probably the greatest story of Midway.
I call it like the Big Bang of the video game universe. I mean, we went from blank screens to all of a sudden, no one had seen anything like that in a video game.
We went to the well too many times.
And that was the end of Quaina.
We're going to sue the crap out of them.
I don't think it hit me till decades later that my image is still in there. I have daughters now. They're going to see this. Sometimes I'd sneak up behind him. Guy would take a shot and I go, ugly shot! Boom shakalaka! He'd turn around and go, hey, you sound like the guy. I am the guy, dude.
I remember thinking to myself, wow, I'm working with gods.
Mortal Kombat! Narc. T2. The Grid. You know what a game is? A game is 100 of those cool things, and now you have one.
We've got the Godfather, the doctor of video games. What do you call yourself?
Face.
A wrap.
That's good, that's a wrap.
All right, we should be back live in studio. Josh, can you hear us?
Hey, how you doing? I can hear you.
Yeah, great. We'll bring you on here in just 1 second. We're going to keep you in suspense. We're going to do a quick update. So we're going to have Josh Sway here in studio remotely from Insert Coin. But before we bring him on for the interview, we got a quick update on donations. Again, every dollar we raise this weekend is going to United Cerebral Palsy of Greater Cleveland. Mm-hmm. So for this segment 2, we are actually giving away Insert Coin keychains from New Wave Toys.
Sweet.
So newwavetoys.com. Thank you for donating those amazing keychains. I actually have one on my car keys. They light up. It looks like an actual, I don't know, John, if you can find that too, that file we got. But they look like a little keychain that was on an arcade cabinet and actually lights up. So we're going to give those away and ship those directly to your house from New Wave Toys. So if you make a donation during the segment, again, at least $10, you'll get those shipped directly to you. And Josh actually messaged me on Zoom during the segment too that he's going to toss in some Blu-rays. So
Awesome. Thanks, man.
up to 5 Blu-rays he's going to give away and ship directly to you. So thank you, Josh, for doing that in advance. And then as a quick update on where we're at overall, we are at $5,700 going to United Cerebral Palsy of Greater Cleveland. So keychain image is on the screen. So yeah, you guys should see that. $5,700. Everything going to United Cerebral Palsy of Greater Cleveland. You can donate at GameCleveland.com. So as you're watching along and we're asking Josh some fun questions, having a good time, please, please, please go ahead and hit that link, and I'll put it in the chat as well. And without further ado, after I hype up where to donate and keep Josh on the line, I'm going to bring him in here. So, Josh, how you doing?
Good, thanks. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, it's good to see you. You will also be able to hear two other people that they'll be actually to see you on the stream, but you won't be able to see in Zoom, unfortunately. So I'm here with Kevin and Brent as well.
Hey, Josh.
How you doing, Josh?
All right. Hey, good to hear you guys, not see you guys.
Yeah, right? No, it's really good to connect. I'm glad this worked out. I always preface things off by saying, I always am able to bring kind of guests on to the show and do everything we can for charity by bugging the crap out of people. So Josh was no exception to that rule. So thank you for letting me bother you. I appreciate it.
No worries. It's hopefully. I don't think it took much for me to agree to it. So
you don't have to,
it was an easy yes.
You don't have to be kind to me. But for people that don't know you, Josh, you mind doing a quick introduction? Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. I've led a couple of different lives. I'll start from the beginning, which is most people know me as a game developer. I worked at Midway Games through the 90s and worked with the Mortal Kombat and NBA Jam teams, and then from there went on to work for EA, opened up a couple of studios of my own, worked on the Tony Hawk games. And, 20 to 25 years later, I decided that I wanted to get into filmmaking. So I spent the last few years of my life creating this documentary about my early years at Midway Games. And that's led me to talking to you here.
To this beautiful Sunday morning, wherever we are.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And the name of the documentary is?
Oh, the name of the documentary. You can tell I'm really bad at plugging my own.
Yeah, I'm trying to set you up here.
Right? I know. Thank you so much. You're the pro here. Obviously.
I'm trying to give you softballs.
No, the name of the documentary is Insert Coin, and it's coming out November 25th with Alamo Drafthouse Cinema on Demand, and also we partnered up with a bunch of virtual cinemas that are basically working with independent local theaters. So if you go on insertcoindoc.com on the screenings page, you can see, the closest theater nearby you that's working with us, and it's basically, it helps them out. Obviously, it helped me out with the release of the film, but it helps out your local theaters, especially in these days. They can use all the help they can.
For sure, because I know the film was originally you were selected for South by Southwest, right? And that was
exactly.
That was when. I mean, when was that? I don't even know the exact date, but that was when things started, right? I mean, it was like I remember because I follow you pretty actively on Twitter and everything. And I think it was like the week of. It was like a day or two before, right? I mean,
yeah, it was like so it was South by Southwest was supposed to happen in March,
right?
And then it got canceled, it's like, man, what, a week or two before that?
Yeah.
The whole world kind of shut down, and then the film, since then has been in a bunch of other film festivals that have either were canceled or they went online. So it did have a film festival run, and I'm super thankful that the film getting accepted in the South by really helped move that along. So even though it wasn't the ideal situation, it still worked out really well.
Right, because I know you were supposed to be at the Cleveland International Film Festival as well, and that's actually where I first had read about it and seen it. They seen the trailer for it and got tickets for it. And then the same thing. Everything happened at that time. It was just a domino effect across the entire industry, right? I mean, it was like South by Southwest. I specifically remember it was like one of the first ones when that was canceled. That was like a shockwave through all these cons and everything, right?
It was amazing. Yeah, I was like, because I think Cleveland was going to be right after South by Southwest, and so we were, me and my family, we're all getting ready for the whirlwind tour and stuff, and Cleveland was like, it's a short drive away from us here in Chicago, so we were really looking forward to it. But yeah, unfortunately, like I said, this everything kind of shut down, so kind of did our best.
Yeah, but you mentioned too, and we were talking about this before we came on too. I was like, I know I've seen it recently. I was like, either it came out this weekend or last week, but you mentioned it's coming out November 25th. So when you said it's coming out on demand, where can people watch it this week in 3 days?
Yes. Oh, so in on Wednesday when it comes out. Basically, if you it's just streaming on these virtual cinemas. So when you go on the site insertcoindoc.com, you literally just click on info and it'll send you to the right link. So it's basically it's a premium pay-per-view event right now, and it's going to be like that for at least a few weeks before it then goes on to other video on demand services.
That's cool. Are you? I know you might not be able to talk about it, but are you working on trying to get it to like other large platforms like Netflix or Amazon and other outlets?
Yes, yeah. So it's kind of like we're following in many ways. It's following the traditional channels of like when a film goes to theater and then it goes to
like you're doing these festivals, right? You build up that reputation,
exactly,
base, and then you can make the case to hey, we need to release it here.
Exactly. So it's going through that, and so like it's kind of interesting because the whole virtual cinema thing is like a theatrical release because it's only on very specific areas. So it's going to be windowed into that for a few weeks, and then it'll go to paid video on demand. So it's got like iTunes, Amazon, Vudu, and things like that. And then from there will be a physical Blu-ray release, and then from there it goes into then we start talking to the streaming platforms, the subscription-based platforms like a Netflix or Hulu, things like that.
Well, good
so
luck.
kind of taking it a platform at a time.
This is a big week then. Good luck. I mean, this is.
Oh my God.
Are you doing a lot of these then in anticipation of this week? Do you have a lot of whether it's virtual cons or interviews you're setting up or media? I imagine you're trying to hype it up, right?
Yeah, this past week has just been a whirlwind of just talking with various people and stuff, and just getting the word out. And it's been really nice because a lot of the people that are in the film have also been participating in interviews. So they've taken a bit of the slack, they've taken a bit of the work out of me, and they're taking over some things. So when you have characters like Mark Turmel and Eugene Jarvis and those guys, that's they're perfect for interviews. So thank goodness
they're perfect
they
for
can do
interviews,
that.
and hopefully they can help promote it too because
exactly.
they got a huge following. So.
Does the stress go down now that the movie's complete and you're just kind of counting the days down, or does the stress increase?
Man, it's crazy. Like the the amount of work after you finish the film equals the amount of work making the film. I think. I mean, just just getting the film. Like once I finished editing the film and got everything done and everything, and was ready to start showing the world, I didn't realize that was just a whole nother workflow I had to go through. So suddenly, you had to go through quality control. I had to, make sure that it ran properly on all these platforms. There's all the PR stuff, chasing down people. Yeah, it's a full-time job. And, I got lucky that Cargo Films and Releasing out in New York City, they're doing the distribution right now, and they've taken like a lot of this on. When I first started this project, it was kind of in my mind, it was a smaller personal project. So I was thinking to myself, I was going to do a lot of the stuff myself. I wasn't really thinking big. And I didn't even think I was going to go to film festivals, to be quite honest with you. I just wanted to make this project and get it out there. And then when I got to the distribution part, I thought I was going to just do it myself. I just, in my nature, is like, I want to learn as much as possible. And thank goodness I got talked out of that.
There's only so much you can do.
It was just a juggernaut. It was just too much work. And so, and so luckily I'm learning a lot, about the process because it's different from making games.
Yeah. I mean, and you mentioned, making games there. And I think you were modest in mentioning, just happened to work on NBA Jam and Tony Hawk and Mortal Kombat, just glossed over those. That's probably, honestly, that's kind of where it all started, right? I mean, you went through your timeline and your history.
Yeah. So I mean, that's I actually went to school for film, so I kind of got into video games by accident. But I love making video games. Obviously, I've been in it for almost 25 years, and so I think my love for. I'm sorry.
Oh no, nothing.
Oh, sorry. So my love for video games and the process of making games, I think, I feel that I was able to get that into the film also. So it was a good marriage of my two, separate worlds.
Yeah, I mean, we talked to Franz Castrell and Melissa Wood. They were the producers behind High Score, right? That came out on Netflix.
Yeah.
So we had them on yesterday, and that was crazy fun, and we got to talk to them about that docuseries. And it was
a great series.
I bring that up because they kind of said the same thing, right? It's like you have a passion for it. It's something that's there, and it's you also are really into, obviously they're in the film industry, so it's kind of like a great marriage that you can take both something you're passionate about and turn into a great project, and then give something people that they're going to enjoy watching.
Yeah, exactly. And it's really nice, like much like High Score, it's really nice to be able to, tell stories about products that people love, but but from a different angle. People know these games that I'm profiling. They might have heard stories here and there, but to be able to kind of give them the backstory or how it evolved from other games and things like that. It's nice to hear from audience members when they say, "Wow, I was kind of surprised by that," or "I never realized that that happened."
Which is what we were talking about too yesterday. Like, there's a lot that came out in that specific docuseries too. We're like, I legit learned something, and we're probably the biggest nerds you can have that are doing this all weekend, but we'll still learning things, and we'll probably learn a lot, obviously, in your film too. That's great. So
thank you.
That's okay. So I know this was originally crowdfunded via Kickstarter. When was that?
Yeah.
And like, how long did the entire process take? What was that like? What was the reception?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see. I did the Kickstarter at the summer of 2015.
Okay.
And so that's 5 years ago. Yeah. And at the time I thought, this is going to take maybe 2 years to make. I was like, seriously, it was like, it's a whole like ignorance is bliss type of thing. Like I didn't know what I was getting myself into. And part of the reason I did the Kickstarter was obviously to help fund it, but a major part of it was just to see if the idea was valid. That's one of the secret things about Kickstarter is that's a great way to find out if your idea is going to resonate with people without you spending too much time or money into it.
Yep.
So luckily it did really well, and the film got funded, and then I was kind of off to the races. But then at that point, moving on, it was like, as I started producing the film, and I was warned about this by other documentarians, is that, hey, you have to you go into it with a certain idea in mind, but you have to kind of let it flow, like see where it branches out to, because the story is put together in the editing, not when you're shooting it. And so as I was working on it, it really kind of blew up from there. As I was talking with more and more people, I would get, stories that would lead me down different paths, and then I would add more people to the mix. And I thought I was just going to interview people that I used to work with, but then I ended up, interviewing, the director and producer of the Mortal Kombat movie, and then that branched out to somewhere else. And I ended up with the CEO of Sega, Tom Kalinske at the time, who was also featured in Console Wars. And that branched out, so it was just like this journey that I had.
Scope creep gone wild here.
Exactly. You would think that from my game development days, I would learn.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
No, we don't have time to do this.
Yeah, but luckily, because it was just me making the film, it didn't get too crazy. But with that said, I would say that, over the 5-year development, if I were to concentrate it down on actual work on the film itself, and took out all the breaks I took and all the days off and things like that, it really took about 3 years to make. And the one thing I've learned since then is a lot of documentaries, they actually take minimum 5 years and as long as 10 years to make. So it kind of made me feel a little bit better about the process.
That's wild.
Was it difficult finding funding or promoting the film on Kickstarter? Or trying to get word out for people to hear about it, and then when you're trying to make this?
Yeah, I got really lucky. I got a lot of good advice, before I started, for one thing. And one thing was just, hey, prepare as much materials as possible ahead of time, And coming from game development, every game that I've worked on, I was fortunate enough to also work on a lot of the press materials for PR purposes. Okay. So I kind of had a good idea of what the press wanted. If you make it easy for the press to write about you, then they'll do it. If you give them all the material, just feed them information, right?
Mm-hmm. I've learned this.
Yeah, no, and so I kind of had that in mind already, and luckily because of my experience in game development, and I've had a lot of connection with the video game press. Before I started Kickstarter, I gave them the heads up. I just gave them a ton of material to say, hey, I'm doing this. It'd be great if you write about it. Here are the dates for it and everything. And people got excited. And I really, it's like that whole karma thing. I like to think that I've always been really cool with people and stuff. And so I got a lot of that in return, which I'm really thankful for. So. The Kickstarter got a lot of press, just right off the bat, and not just with game press, but with like Engadget wrote an article, Playboy wrote an article about it, which like blew my mind. I think the Ringer had something.
Oh, the Ringer, nice.
Yeah, so it was really good. Yeah, I never thought that I'd be in Playboy. I was like so happy, So wow, it's like
hey, whatever, however,
I
it
have
gets you
to
there.
pick up this copy of Playboy this weekend.
I got to do it. I got to.
Maybe I'll pick up a couple.
I only read it for the
Josh
articles.
Right, yeah. Read it for the articles, right, for real.
Yeah.
So a couple questions. I think we were talking again a little bit like video games and these type of docu-series or mentaries. Like we were talking about, we had Steve Wiebe on before this. We were talking about King of Kong, and then I've also talked to Tim McVeigh from Man vs. Snake. He did that Man vs. Snake documentary. Was there? I guess where I'm going with this question: did you kind of take any cues or notes or thoughts, from some of those films, or there are countless others I could name too out there, but specific to that industry, video games itself?
Yeah, I think definitely. I love Man vs. Snake for one thing.
Yeah,
that blew my mind. It's so good. All those documentaries have been great. I think the two I would say right off the bat that I was very heavily influenced by was Indie Game, Indie Game the movie, and then there was another one that I ended up getting involved in later on was the Lost Arcade.
Okay,
and so the Lost Arcade specifically. It's very different in tone than what I did, but the thing is that it inspired me in terms of just like, hey, people are interested in arcades, and I remember this arcade in New York that they profiled, and there's something about it that fascinated me that they kind of took this, I almost sounds like just like the small subject matter, and then basically were able to make a feature film out of it. Right. And so they were actually on Kickstarter, and I reached out to them and told them, hey, I'd love to help you guys on this. I remember this arcade. Cool. So I ended up being the executive producer, or one of the executive producers on it. But Indie Game the movie I really liked a lot because it just profiling video game developers and like really showing what they go through. Again, that was inspirational. One of the funny things is that I like to say that my film is almost like the anti-Indie Game the movie, just because in Indie Game the movie it's very, I don't know how to put it, it's very mellow in nature, and they have these indie developers that are just very thoughtful about things, but they're just very like, I don't know. It's just kind of a mellow feel to it. And then you get my film, and you get something like Eugene Jarvis that's just like a psycho.
Exactly.
Like all these crazy ass people. And so I thought that was pretty funny. Yeah, but I'll tell you the documentary that really informed the tone of my film though it has nothing to do with video games. It was a documentary I saw on Netflix. I think it's still on there. But it was about Canon films of the 80s. Okay. And I think it's called Electric Boogaloo, the Canon film story. If you get a chance to see it, it's just wild.
Have
you guys seen it?
It's pretty slick. Yeah, it's very. I thought it was really informative, to be honest.
Yeah, and it was, but it was just crazy. And you watch it, and it had this, the tone of it matched the wild style of Canon films. And so when I saw that, it's like, okay, I understand, like I got what they were doing. And so when I did Insert Coin, I made a point of just like, I wanted to feel as raucous as the games were. I wanted to make it feel like you were watching a documentary that was very informed by the energy of arcade games.
Yeah. Based on the trailer, it seems like a pretty, I'll say, rowdy film. But it's like you said, those are all. I mean, you've got
almost rock star,
right? Yeah. I mean, you've got big personalities in there. You've got Kitzrow, you've got Piscina, Jarvis, Turmel, right? Everybody, and they all have just giant personalities, and kind of like you're talking about too with Indie Game. I mean, there really wasn't even an industry at that point too either, right? And these guys and you yourself too were part of that industry, kind of creating it from nothing at that point in time.
Exactly. Yeah. That's a good point. That's definitely something that that we had in common. And whenever you talk to any of us from Midway from that era, we always say that the spirit of what we're doing, you see that in indie games. Indie game developers, they're just like, I'm going to take this nugget of an idea and just nuts with it and just run with it.
And that's the best place, the creative part. We had some developers on the other day. They're a VR development company from Cleveland, and they said that one of the guys that didn't join was kind of like the idea guy, and in my mind, I just keep thinking of okay, he's coming up with all these crazy things. How do we wrangle this thing? And everyone else around was like, yeah, no, like, here's what we can do. Like, just stop. We have too much stuff. We have too much content. We don't know what to do with all. We need to bring you in. This is just wild. What questions do you guys have?
I was wondering, is there any, like, obviously you mentioned the Lost Arcade and Insert Coin and how you wanted to convey a good story with both of them, or how the story affected you. Is there a gaming story out there you would like to you'd like to hit up on in the future? Maybe do a documentary on that, or some kind of form of media for
the next 5 years of your life.
Well, you could do it quicker. Like, is there? I'm just wondering, is there any other
cool.
like gaming story that has affected you that you would like to?
That's a tough one. I mean, there's a lot, especially because I know so many people, not just the people that I work with, but people just in the industry in general. I feel like there are so many subjects out there, and there's like one of the things that I've always been interested in is that I don't think anybody has ever documented how hard it is to make a game for a big studio.
Okay.
And like there are a lot of articles about it and things like that, but there is something about like wrapping it up in documentary form to really see what it's like. I don't know if I'm necessarily the right person to do it, but it's a subject matter that I'm interested in, and particularly just how hard it is to make a game, and especially when you're working for a large company, just the crunch of it, and it's I'm torn, because when we worked at Midway, we crunched like crazy, but we like, whether it's from being really young and ignorant about it, or we just liked what we're doing, we didn't mind it. We were just like, we were crunching like crazy because we were making really cool stuff, and we're happy to be in the industry and such. But now when I look back on it, and it's like, man, I don't know if I could ever do that again.
Yeah.
And there are people who are working in much more abusive companies that take advantage of that. And so, I think a very nuanced discussion of that culture would be interesting. And because it wouldn't necessarily be pro or anti-crunch. It's just like, hey, here's what it's like for people to make the games that you enjoy. Here's the sausage making, basically.
Right. Okay. Well, and also like the business side too. Like, I mean, you work for a large development studio. You have shareholders to keep happy. You've got deadlines. Yep. Now you have like downloadable content and DLC. Right. It's like all. I can't imagine.
Churn.
Right. I mean, it'd be like, okay, we need to, because we've got a shareholder meeting Q4. Yep. We need to hit this date. We need to hit this target, but we need this DLC, and like.
You also need to please the fan base and make sure there's not
on
too
top
much
of
DLC.
That,
if you put too much DLC out there, then the fans get mad because they're just basically paying.
But you'd like to think like that churn and burn, like people have that passion in them still to do that. But that's a really good point. Like, I wonder if that still is at that level, or if it's even higher now. I have no idea.
I think it's I mean, from what I know of it, it's worse than ever.
Really?
Because now games, in general, especially when you're talking about AAA console games, like it used to be, you make a game, it goes out, and then maybe you'll do a couple of DLCs, a few months later and things like that. But it was basically a singular product. Now, games are basically games as a service. So you have, let's say, Fortnite out there, and you're constantly updating it.
It's like,
and you keep having to add assets on a constant basis, and then that's not just in PC games or mobile games. AAA games are starting to do that, and so the business model changes, and how do you just keep up with that demand?
Yeah, that's
do you feel like they're doing that to see how much they can get away with before there's like a breaking point between them and the fans, or the people that buy the games? Because it feels like they're just releasing games that are unfinished at some point.
I think it's a tough one. I know that there are many instances where games have come out that are basically unfinished, but they know that they're going to keep patching it anyways, and so on. But I think they have to be really careful, and I think we're getting to the point where, that some of the bigger companies are realizing, we might need to slow down, because it's the fans, they'll see a pattern after a while. You can't fool them that many times.
Yeah, with Battlefront, right? Battlefront was like the jumping the shark moment, right, for EA with the DLC there, and then I've been waiting on Cyberpunk, right? That's a good example too. When they punted that one again, was it Cyberpunk 2077? Like they kicked that one again, And I can't even, when that literally happens, all I can think of is, oh man, I am glad I am not in that room. Like,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's I've had I can't speak for that game, but it reminds me of friends of mine that worked on a game called Singularity that came out from Activision, and it was constantly delayed time after time. And I had friends who worked on it, and they were just like hoping to just get it out there, because every time they delay it, their crunch got extended. And so it wasn't like, hey, it's not like, hey, we're delaying this game and but because we're going to fix things. I mean, they are obviously doing that, but at the same time, when they delay it, the people working behind the scenes, they're actually suffering because of mismanagement and everything. Yeah. And so they're like, oh my God, now I'm not going to see my family for another month because I'm going to be crunching again.
I like this. I think it's got legs. I like this project.
Sounds kind of like a horror movie, not a documentary.
It sounds like a horror film. Yeah.
But yeah, might need to be like a fictional film. You know what I mean? It's not a documentary. It'd be like a docudrama.
If that's the case, you could take more liberties with it, and like I would imagine, like they can actually make like the devil is the big company trying to.
Yeah.
There you go. What other questions you guys have? I'm giving you guys some airtime here.
I got one.
I want to talk. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm very curious. I don't know if this will apply to you or not, but I saw you worked on Mortal Kombat as an actor, producer Tony Hawk, and you were also a programmer on WWF Super WrestleMania. Yeah. I'm wondering, was there a heavy involvement with like some of these the people or company? Like, was Tony Hawk involved in the production of his game, or were WWE involved with their just to make sure like everything's on the up and up? And if so, like how heavy, and also were they like to the point of annoying?
So I'll start with WrestleMania, because that was the first game I ever worked on.
Oh, wow.
And and so like when I first started Midway, the NBA Jam team had just finished NBA Jam, and based off that success, they wanted to do a wrestling game, which makes no sense.
Oh yeah, that's a clear next step, Basketball,
clearly NBA
wrestling.
Wrestling. And so that one, and I came in as as what they call a video artist. I did like a lot of the artwork for the animations and everything. And that was an amazing experience. And to this day, it left an imprint on me, because, I'd never worked on video games before. Suddenly I'm working on this game where people from the WWE, and back then it's called the WWF,
right.
We struck up a licensing deal between Midway and WWF. And, we was like, hey, we want to do this, this crazy Mortal Kombat style wrestling game. Mm-hmm. Can we use the likeness of your wrestlers? And they're like, yeah, absolutely. To figure out a licensing deal. And we thought we were going to just, like paste their heads on some generic bodies and just try to fake it, kind of like what they did with NBA Jam.
Right.
And what ended up happening, they basically says like, no, we're going to send you the wrestlers. Yeah. Like, the actual wrestlers are going to show up in your studio for a couple of days for shooting.
It's like,
yeah, I was like, what? So next thing we know, like, Doink the Clown, Yokozuna, Undertaker, Bret Hart are showing up. And we're like, holy crap.
Yeah.
And so, and that was amazing. And so they came in and they did all the signature moves. They did the same process as Mortal Kombat and everything, got them digitized. And we got to hang out with them for like 2 or 3 days each time. We like a lot of times when they came into town in Chicago for a show, that's when we would get their time. But then we would go see a show. And then after the show, we go out drinking at this dive of a bar.
Oh my God!
So you go to a match with them and then hang out afterwards? Well, we got to talk about this for like 5 minutes.
I got a question on the drinking stories. I tell me you got to drink with the Undertaker, because I hear his stories are legendary.
So not only did we get to drink with the Undertaker, Undertaker every morning of the shoot, he'd be in his dressing room getting ready, and he just looked like hell warmed over. Okay.
Yeah.
And what I would have to do is I would have to go to the supermarket and get a bottle of Jack Daniels to come in, get it to him at like 8 in the morning, get it to his dressing room. He would do whatever he needs to do with it. And then he comes out just like, all right, I'm ready. Let's do it.
He's like Andre the Giant.
Is this a known thing?
He's like Andre the Giant in terms of him and Jack Daniels go. There's lots of stories with them.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
It's insane.
That is awesome.
But they were all fantastic. I mean, there's one segment that got cut from the film, but it's going to be in the Blu-ray. Is the WrestleMania segment got cut from the film, but it's in the Blu-ray as an extra. And there's a story that Sal DeVita talks about, where we all went drinking with Yokozuna, and Yokozuna basically fooled him into a drinking match, and next thing you know, Sal is like, it's like that scene from Team America. He's out in the back just vomiting everything out of his body.
Oh my god! Oh man.
So anyways, so that, I mean, that was, you know, so there, but the funny thing is that the WWF like gave us access to all these wrestlers, but then they left us alone. They're like, yeah, make whatever game you want. So we just went off. And
well, you guys just did NBA Jam though too, right? I mean, so
yeah, what's that?
You just had done NBA Jam, so they're like,
yeah. So they have at it, you know. And so we just like went off, and then you know we ended up making this crazy ass game, and that had nothing to do with wrestling, but that's how much freedom we had on it.
To be fair, the Jack Daniels story makes perfect sense with the animation of Undertaker shooting out the demons, having to wave his arms like that. That makes perfect sense on how.
Yeah, why not? Why not? You know.
Yeah.
But then, like, you know, but you bring up Tony Hawk, so you know, I was like very fortunate that I worked with Tony for like, man, it's like almost 10 years. So we did 4 games together, and it's amazing in that he was very involved in the making of the game, and it's not like. You know, it's not like, you know, like John Madden has nothing to do with his football games, right? Yeah. But Tony Hawk, he's playing the games, and you know, and he always trusted us in terms of the general direction of the game. But when it came to, you know, the controls of the games or how the characters look or how they move, the authenticity of the skate moves, he was very like he wanted to make sure that we got that right, that we got the culture right. But like there are times where he was like playing the game in the middle of the night. And he's on Pacific time, and so like there were times where like, you know, 2 or 3 in the morning, I get a text from him while I'm in bed saying, "Hey, I noticed, you know, there's a bit of a lag on this. Can you fix this?" You know, and so it's like, dude, it's like 3 in the morning over here.
And you're telling Tony Hawk to leave you alone.
Yeah, exactly. Can you leave me alone, please? But he's a you know, out of all the people that I've worked with and everything, he was very involved, but he's just a great person. It's just amazing. You know, somebody who's that successful, you know, it being so down to earth.
I always kind of wondered with creating games with him, was he kind of a stickler for like skating physics? Like, okay, I want to, you can't really do this move in that kind of time span. So.
Yeah, it was weird. It depended on the situation. He understood the intent or just the context of it, because he understood that, hey, ultimately it's a video game. You have to make it fun.
Yeah.
You know, and especially for a Tony Hawk style game. A Tony Hawk game is not a skateboarding simulator. You know, in many ways they're very arcade like, and so in the very stylized. So, you know, he like for certain things he was more of a stickler on the physics than on other things, but he understood that you have to put the fun in. And those games are very different from, let's say, the EA skate games. You know, and a lot of people talk about, the EA skate games are so much better than Tony Hawk, but that's like the equivalent of saying, you know, Shake Shack is better than In-N-Out. They're just different types of burgers, right?
Yeah, Tony Hawk, you are flying 300 feet in the air to a power line, collecting letters that are floating around while.
Just like in real life.
While giving a bum a bottle of beer, right? That's right. That's Tony Hawk.
What else are you going to do with the bum on the power lines? I mean,
right, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that always cracked me up whenever they had that comparison. People would always say, why can't the Hawk games have EA style controllers? And because it's a totally different animal.
Right.
Oh man. That's awesome.
I know we definitely, I think we've gone off the rails, but in a good way. We came on to talk about Insert Coin. We've talked about Undertaker and Jack Daniels and Tony Hawk, but I think it's good. This is all good stuff.
Oh, excellent.
But yeah, you're like, good. I talk about the film all the time.
Exactly.
About Insert Coin, though, specifically, without giving too much away, is there any specific part of the film that you're most passionate about, or any specific story? Again, without going into details here, but anything that kind of stood out to you as most memorable in making the film?
Man, I mean, it's, boy, there's so many things. I really enjoyed the story about Narc. Okay. And, Narc is just this, crazy, crazy, over-the-top 80s style action cop video game where you're just shooting everything in sight. And the thing the story about that game, I kind of knew about it, but I didn't really understand at the time how much it affected all of the games coming out of Midway through the 90s. And so, once I was talking with Eugene Jarvis about it, and it's telling me the story of how it came to be. Basically, after the video game crash, Williams stopped making video games, and he went off to California to do, to go back to school and everything. And he wanted to come back to make one more crazy video game, and he wanted to make it look like a movie. And that game's, they created new technology to digitize actors, to put them into the game. And just everything, you look at that game and everything that they did in there directly ties into Mortal Kombat and NBA Jam. And so, just hearing him talk about that and hearing how he put the team together and getting just all this pushback from the higher ups, saying it's like, I don't know if you want to be blowing up people and showing body parts and blood and fire on arm, on severed arm. Is that really a good idea? Right?
As we're trying not to promote like drug use, and that's like the
game is called. I mean, it's about narc. Don't do drugs.
Well, that's
and
what I'm saying, because that was during Reagan, right? I mean, it's like all about not doing drugs, but then the polar opposite is, well, we're just going to blow the crap out of everybody on this monitor for the next hour.
Exactly.
It's almost a parody at that point.
And it was just like, just so over the top. And so you look at it, and it's funny because you look at a game like that now, and it's like, man, the good guys in that game were actually the bad guys.
Right. Blowing everybody up. Okay.
Yeah, sure, why not?
They had it coming.
I'm sorry.
They had it coming, Kevin said.
Yeah. But yeah, I knew that was an important game, but I didn't realize how important it was, because a lot of back then there was there were no tools to make games. Everything was hand coded, for lack of a better way of explaining it. So even the tools to capture video, they had to program that on the spot. They didn't have Photoshop back then, so just making animations was so painful. And so that was a nice surprise, and that kind of set the tone of the overall story arc of Insert Coin, which is how a crazy designer named Eugene Jarvis sets the tone for not just Midway games in the 90s, but just arcade games in general. Because once that Pandora's box was open, where you can have crazy over the top action in a video game, everybody jumped on the bandwagon.
It's just wild, like all these names and everybody involved and everything. So, I apologize, I might get this wrong, but Jarvis, did he pinball? Was pinball?
Yeah,
because
he did.
Williams, right? Or was it at?
Yeah, he did. That's the thing, and we kind of touch on it a little bit, but Williams Electronics,
right?
They started mainly with pinball for a long time, and then in the 80s, Jarvis did the Williams' first video game. So Jarvis was a pinball designer.
That's what I thought, right?
He wanted to make a video game, so he created Defender, and Defender blows up, sells over 50,000 units, and you can remember a unit is a couple of $1,000s, so just becomes wildly successful. Then does Robotron, Stargate, all these other games, leads the department. So they were just, riding high. And then obviously the video game crash of the mid 80s happened, and it was just obliterated. But pinball was still very strong. Pinball survives so many different eras. It's kind of amazing.
Right. And I'm a huge pinball enthusiast, and where I guess I was going with that too is, like, as you're talking about this and mentioning those names, that's why I brought up Jarvis too, because I'm like, I don't think anyone's really done a true pinball documentary, and pinball has been, have you seen any? I can't think of any that I know.
The only one that I'd seen was one called Tilt, but that was really specifically on, ironically, almost the same era as Insert Coin, the last gasp of pinballs pinball in the 90s. I don't know if you guys remember, there was a Midway. Well, actually, Williams Electronics turned into Williams Valley Midway, and they were doing the Pinball 2000 concept. I don't know if you guys remember that.
No, I don't know.
It was they came out with a few different versions of it, but one of them was Star Wars Episode 1.
Oh,
and
yeah,
it was
that one.
It was a pinball video game thing. Yeah. And so that there was a documentary about that era and how they were trying to revitalize pinball and the death of pinball at that point.
But pinball is like thriving now. Stern is front and center, and there's Jersey Jack, and there's lots of new companies that are spinning up. Pinball is...
Pinball, yeah.
I feel like in 10 years from now, people will be doing stuff about pinball, if not sooner, it's really revived. Kind of like where we were talking about Steve Wiebe and arcade and classic gaming, and even the point like getting us here and you doing this film, right? I mean, I feel like pinball's. I don't know a lot of stories about pinball myself.
Yeah, pinball is so deep. I mean, that's actually, like we were talking earlier about what other projects might be interesting, but pinball has been brought up a lot, and but that goes so far back.
I know, right?
It's kind of crazy. It's just like, man, like whoever wants to take that on, like it's like needs to do a docuseries about
you're going back to like almost prohibition, right? Because it was like gambling and banned and destroying pinball
You would
machines.
have to have like
right?
at least a miniseries of that.
Yeah, definitely. And ironically, a lot of the classic pinball designers, they all ended up at Williams Valley Midway. Besides Jarvis, like and a lot of the people at Stern now are all from Williams Valley Midway. But like, there's this one guy, Roger Sharp, and he's in Insert Coin, but he actually wrote a book he wrote like the definitive book about pinball, and he, from what I remember him saying that he was part of some legislature or something like that to make sure like pinball wasn't illegal. There was some weird thing that happened with pinball.
Yeah. Because I know it was banned because people thought it was like a form of gambling, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But then they had to argue that there is an element of chance, but it's mostly based on skill.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it.
So I'm doing a quick time check here too. John's helping us out in the booth. He's chirping in my ear. We wanted to give you oh, there it is. That's my keychain, by the way. So you've got these insert coin. See, it's an actual insert
Those are
coin.
Awesome.
And they light up. It's probably the heaviest keychain you'll ever have. But these are from New Wave Toys. So again, if you guys donate during this segment, Josh Sway again on with us talking about insert coin, and we're giving away some of those keychains as well. And he said he's able to ship out some Blu-rays as well. So please help us out. Again, everything's going to United Cerebral Palsy of Greater Cleveland. You can help donate at GameCleveland.com. But Josh, I want to also give you a chance to. I know where we kind of started the hour, but to promote, what you've got is kind of just a normal week here in the middle of November. But what you've got going on this week and where people can follow you, check out what you've got going on, the documentary, and I will shut up.
No worries. Yeah, no. So, Insert Coin, the documentary that I directed and produced, is coming out Wednesday, November 25th on Alamo Drafthouse On Demand, and also a whole bunch of virtual cinemas that are in relationship with local indie theaters. And so the best place to go to is insertcoindoc.com, and there's a screening page, and from there are multiple links to how and where you can see the film. The other thing is on Monday, also through Alamo On Demand, there's going to be a sneak preview watch party, and it's going to be with myself, Mark Trammell, the creator of NBA Jam and NFL Blitz, and Sal DeVita, also the co-creator of NBA Jam and NFL Blitz and WrestleMania for both of them and myself. We're going to be at the watch party doing live Q&A and watching along with people. It's going to be hosted by Arda Orca from ESPN, and it's going to be a blast. And then from there, after Thanksgiving, there's going to be another watch party with some special guests also coming on. But in general, yeah, the film's coming out Wednesday. Would love for you all to see it. Make it the #1 film of the week if possible.
Yeah.
After your year Thanksgiving and pass out, go take a watch.
Where's that watch party again? Where do the Alamo Draft House?
Yes. Or? Yeah. So go to Alamo. If you just look for Alamo On Demand.
Okay.
You can. Yeah, it'll be right on the front page.
Alamo On Demand. Then insertcoindoc.com. And then also, too, I know you put a bunch of cool stuff kind of behind the scenes and what's going on social media on your Twitter account, right? Or any other Facebook or Twitter or any social media stuff.
Yeah.
Come on,
So,
get with the program here.
Yeah, thanks. That's why you're here, man.
Right?
So on Instagram and Twitter, the handle is InsertCoinDoc. And then there's a Facebook page. They just do a search for Insert Coin Documentary, and you can be able to find that. And then on YouTube, on Insert Coin Documentary, I've been putting up a lot of behind-the-scenes videos. It's literally raw footage that's not in the documentary that I put up there. And it's interesting. Like I put some things up early on just for fun, and people freaked out about it. So there's like stuff from WWF. We have behind the scenes footage of Shawn Michaels, his sessions back there. I just put up the other day the motion capture session with the cheerleaders from NBA Jam that's never been seen before. And there's a lot of really
for
funny
that
things
for the
out
ad
there,
shoot
like,
or what? Was it for that ad shoot they did, or for the actual cheerleaders? Like
no, it's for in the game.
In the
It's so
game.
funny. There's like we literally have hours of footage of them doing different cheers and stuff, and then in the game, like I think we used like 20 frames.
That's what I'm gonna say. I don't remember. It doesn't really stand out to me in terms of a lot of animation frames.
Yeah,
Like, I can't imagine how many different sprites you had to build or image this for cheerleading.
Well,
I personally just thought they were just 3 pop-up pictures, to be honest.
Yeah.
I really totally forgot about that, sadly.
So we have all this stuff up there, and but yeah, like back then we shot a lot of footage that ended up just going nowhere. So I had access, when I made the film, I had access to all this footage. So I'm just like, you know what, just for fun, this is really more fan service than anything. Yeah. So I'm just gonna put all this raw materials up there, just so people can see all the shenanigans.
This is really cool. Well, we genuinely appreciate you coming on, Kevin or Brent. Anything else before we let Josh go?
There was a question in the chat.
Undertaker question?
No, unfortunately not. Kevin Camarillo from the chat wants to know who'd win in a fight, Sub-Zero or Liu Kang?
Wait, what was the question again?
Who'd win in a fight, Sub-Zero or Liu Kang?
Oh my gosh!
You probably get that a lot. I'm guessing.
Yeah. Considering in a few games they were both myself, so who would I? I think it was.
Well, you would win
Sub-Zero.
technically.
So he's taking Sub-Zero.
Oh yeah.
I think it's Sub-Zero. Yeah. Sub-Zero is just too cool, man. Those original ninjas are still the best.
Yeah, the original ninjas are.
That's the right answer. I'm back here in the audio booth. I had to ask one question before we got you out of here, but.
I like that Sub-Zero was just too cool. That was a good one.
Oh God! I just realized I did that. My apologies.
You're gonna end on that?
Yeah. I think we should end on that.
It's a high note. It's a high note. No, but Josh, this has been super fun, man. I really appreciate you coming on. Really appreciate connecting. Wish you the best of luck this week. We will definitely be promoting as well. Appreciate you taking the time on a Sunday to come on and support our charity and the cause. And it's been fun. It's been really great talking to you.
Yep. Looking forward.
No, thank you. Yeah, thanks so much. You guys are doing great stuff, and I really appreciate you inviting me.
Cool. All right. Cool. Well, we'll catch you later, Josh. Thanks again, man.
Looking forward to
good luck.
See you guys.
We'll see you.
Take care, bud. Bye.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right. Well, that was crazy cool.
Yeah. Sub-Zero.
Very excited for that film to come out, though.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we got stuff to give away. John's telling me give away stuff. Donate at GameCleveland.com right now. We've got these insert coin keychains. See, I have one from New Wave Toys. These are, feel how heavy that is. It's like a brick.
Yeah, that you would do some damage.
It's
self-defense.
You can use it if you're in a dangerous parking lot.
And you could put a quarter in there.
And you cannot, but it lights up. So donate, please.
You cannot put a quarter in
doing a quick check-in on the donations.
We also have still plenty of cans of balls to give away. Dave & Buster's power cards, 16-bit card.
And Josh is giving away... Blu-rays. You said
Blu-rays. We have 5 free Blu-rays, I believe, to give
from
away.
Insert Coin that he said he'd ship out to you. So if you want a Blu-ray from Josh's way, feel free to make that donation. We'll get you a copy of those. I mean, that was fun.
Oh
yeah,
definitely.
I think
Another good interview
donate right now.
What's that?
I think I'm going to just log in and donate right now.
Let's do it. Because we're at 5,700. Let's get to 6. We'd like to get to 6, but we got a cool guest coming up here next. We've got Brett Weiss coming up next.
That's right. Author of multiple gaming books.
Yeah, I actually connected with Brett because I stalk him on YouTube. He does a lot of cool stuff on YouTube, so check out his YouTube channel. We're probably going to bring him in via Zoom here in a minute. But he is an author of a number of books, actually backed one recently on Kickstarter we'll probably talk about. But we're going to probably take a 2-minute break or so. Mm-hmm. We'll get Brett loaded up here in the Zoom. We'll bring him on. But as we wait, please make a donation. There's only about 6 hours or so till we cut off, maybe 5, let's just say 5 or 6 hours till we cut off that arcade 1-up cabinet we're giving away too. So if you are just joining us now, you donate any amount, $10 or more, you're entered automatically into raffle tickets. So it's $5 a raffle ticket. Donate any amount, you get that towards that arcade 1-up cabinet. So we're giving that away at 9 o'clock tonight during our
$400 value.
$400 arcade 1-up cabinet shipped directly to you just for donating as little as $10. So we will be right back. We're going to go to commercial, and we'll be back with Brett. Thank you.
See you in a bit.
John's taking
Midway is the punk rock, they're like the Ramones or the Sex Pistols of the video game industry.
If their game became very successful, you're going to make a lot of money.
He's on fire! I'd buy that for $1.
I always thought with video games, when you make them, somebody would come with this book. This is what we're going to make, and we start page 1 and we start making it. It was never like that. It was like, so what do you guys want to do?
The games are louder, the graphics are more detailed.
More blood, more blood.
Toasty! What game does that?
They've got this game, Mortal Kombat, and you can kill people.
Yeah, isn't that really cool?
What the hell?
We can do whatever we want. We wanted to crush the player.
We want to give them a greater challenge.
Hasta la vista, baby.
This is probably the greatest story of Midway.
I call it like the big bang of the video game universe. I mean, we went from blank screens to all of a sudden, no one had seen anything like that in the video game.
We went to the well too many times.
And that was the end of Quanon.
We're going to sue the crap out of them.
I don't think it hit me till decades later that my image is still in there. I have daughters now. They're going to see this. Sometimes I'd sneak up behind him. Guy would take a shot and I go, ugly shot! Boom shakalaka! He'd turn around and go, hey, you sound like the guy. I am the guy, dude.
I remember thinking to myself, wow, I'm working with gods.
Mortal Kombat!
Narc. T2.
The Grid.
You know what a game is? A game is 100 of those cool things, and now you have one.
We've got the Godfather, the doctor of video games. What do you call yourself?
Face.
That's good, that's a wrap.
Midway is the punk rock, you know, they're like the Ramones or the Sex Pistols of the video game industry.
If their game became very successful, you were going to make a lot of money.
He's on fire! I'd buy that for $1.
I always thought with video games, when you make them, somebody would come with this book. This is what we're going to make, and we start page 1 and we start making it. It was never like that. It was like, so what do you guys want to do?
The games are louder, the graphics are more detailed.
More blood, more blood.
Toasty! What game does that?
They've got this game, Mortal Kombat, and you can kill people.
Yeah, isn't that really cool?
What the hell?
We can do whatever we want. We wanted to crush the player.
We want to give them a greater challenge.
Hasta la vista, baby.
This is probably the greatest story of Midway.
I call it like the big bang of the video game universe. I mean, we went from blank screens to all of a sudden, no one had seen anything like that in the video game.
We went to the well too many times.
And that was the end of Quanon.
We're going to sue the crap out of them.
I don't think it hit me till decades later that my image is still in there. I have daughters now. They're going to see this. Sometimes I'd sneak up behind him. Guy would take a shot and I go, ugly shot! Boom shakalaka! He'd turn around and go, hey, you sound like the guy. I am the guy, dude.
I remember thinking to myself, wow, I'm working with gods.
Mortal Kombat!
Narc. T2.
The Grid.
You know what a game is? A game is 100 of those cool things, and now you have one.
We've got the Godfather, the doctor of video games. What do you call yourself?
Face.
That's good, that's a wrap.
Midway is the punk rock, you know, they're like the Ramones or the Sex Pistols of the video game industry.
If their game became very successful, you were going to make a lot of money.
He's on fire! I'd buy that for $1.
I always thought with video games, when you make them, somebody would come with this book. This is what we're going to make, and we start page 1 and we start making it. It was never like that. It was like, so what do you guys want to do?
The games are louder, the graphics are more detailed.
More blood, more blood.
Toasty! What game does that?
They've got this game, Mortal Kombat, and you can kill people.
Yeah, isn't that really cool? What the hell? We could do whatever we want. We wanted to crush the player.
We want to give them a greater challenge.
Hasta la vista, baby.
This is probably the greatest story of Midway.
I call it like the big bang of the video game universe. I mean, we went from blank screens to all of a sudden, no one had seen anything like that in the video game.
We went to the well too many times.
And that was the end of Quite Not.
We're going to sue the crap out of them.
I don't think it hit me till decades later that my image is still in there. I have daughters now. They're going to see this. Sometimes I'd sneak up behind him. Guy would take a shot and I go, ugly shot! Boom shakalaka! He'd turn around and go, hey, you sound like the guy. I am the guy, dude.
I remember thinking to myself, wow, I'm working with gods.
Mortal Kombat!
Narc. T2. The Grid. You know what a game is? A game is 100 of those cool things, and now you have one.
We've got the Godfather, the Doctor of video games. What do you call yourself?
Face.
That's good, that's a wrap.
Midway is the punk rock, you know, they're like the Ramones or the Sex Pistols of the video game industry.
If their game became very successful, you were going to make a lot of money.
He's on fire! I'd buy that for $1.
I always thought with video games, when you make them, somebody would come with this book. This is what we're going to make, and we start page 1 and we start making it. It was never like that. It was like, so what do you guys want to do?
The games are louder, the graphics are more detailed.
More blood, more blood.
Toasty! What game does that?
They've got this game, Mortal Kombat, and you can kill people.
Yeah, isn't that really cool? What the hell? We could do whatever we want. We wanted to crush the player.
We want to give them a greater challenge.
Hasta la vista, baby.
This is probably the greatest story of Midway.
I call it like the big bang of the video game universe. I mean, we went from blank screens to all of a sudden, no one had seen anything like that in the video game.
We went to the well too many times.
And that was the end of Quite Not.
We're going to sue the crap out of them.
I don't think it hit me till decades later that my image is still in there. I have daughters now. They're going to see this. Sometimes I'd sneak up behind him. Guy would take a shot and I go, ugly shot! Boom shakalaka! He'd turn around and go, hey, you sound like the guy. I am the guy, dude.
I remember thinking to myself, wow, I'm working with gods.
Mortal Kombat!
Narc. T2. The Grid. You know what a game is? A game is 100 of those cool things, and now you have one.
We've got the Godfather, the Doctor of video games. What do you call yourself?
Face.
That's good, that's a wrap.
Midway is the punk rock, you know, they're like the Ramones or the Sex Pistols of the video game industry.
If their game became very successful, you were going to make a lot of money.
He's on fire! I'd buy that for $1.
I always thought with video games, when you make them, somebody would come with this book. This is what we're going to make, and we start page 1 and we start making it. It was never like that. It was like, so what do you guys want to do?
I'm Trish Otter, and I'm privileged to serve as the president and CEO at UCP of Greater Cleveland. I've been with the agency for about 18 years. It is a very special place, serving special people. We serve between 1,300 and 1,500 adults and children every year with developmental disabilities. Our name is very misleading. We serve people with all different types of developmental disabilities, and we do it through therapy and alternative education for kids. And many of the kids we see have very complex needs, both physical and intellectual disabilities. And We do things for them that their doctors told them could never be done. Through children, our programs include occupational, physical, and speech therapy. At the highest level, we'll have 2 and 3 therapists on a child at any one time to make them progress. And actually, we have kids here for many years at a time. This isn't a kind of an in and out clinic. This is somewhere that we support these children and their families. We offer free case management services, so we find all the resources that they need that supports them, that then allows that therapy to work, right? And to keep them as a stable family. And for the adults, we serve everybody, those who have significant disabilities and are nonverbal and are not mobile, all the way up to people who you would look at and never know they have a disability. So for some, we do activities program, all the way up to preparing people for getting a job and then retaining that job. Everything from writing a resume to how to interview to help them to be trained on the job, to go in and coach at times. Again, A to Z on adults. We see the abilities in the people we work with. We meet each person where they are and move them forward and allow them and help them to live life to the fullest. If you're watching this, I cannot thank you enough. This is really what allows us to do what we do. The individuals who come to us for services find with us very unique services, compassionate services, and we truly make a difference in their lives. And again, we could not do it without your support, so thank you very, very much.
We're back. We're back. We're live.
From outer
We're
space.
live.
We're live.
And you just walked and found you here with that sad look upon your face. I'll stop singing.
You're great. Brett's waiting in the wings, and the first thing he hears is Kevin Molnar just chiming away here.
I'm sorry.
He brings all the people in the chat.
I sing.
You brought the people in the chat with that punch-out blindfolder. That was just inspiring, to say the least. But before, so welcome back. It's Cleveland Gaming Classic. Tom Jenkins here with Kevin and Kevin.
Yeah. Hey.
So not to be confused with Kevin.
Yeah.
So we want to do a quick.
That's Kevin with a K and Kevin with a C.
Right. Thank you. We want to do a quick update. If you guys are tuning in live, we're going to bring in Brett Weiss here in a second. He is standing by in the wings in the Zoom. He can hear us, so we can say all the bad things about him now. But when he comes on, he's got a smile. So we'll bring him on here in a second. But then
he does not need to smile.
He does not need to smile.
He does not.
Okay, sorry. But then what we're going to do, too, is we're going to, obviously, as we're bringing on Brett here, donate if you can. We just got a nice donation. I'm going to say from my parents.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Mom and Dad.
Mr. and Mrs. Tom.
Mr. and Mrs. Tom. Thank you, Mary Beth and Keith. Thank you for that donation. $250.
Oh, wow.
For the stream.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. Really appreciate that. We are now closing in on 6,000.
Very good. Very good.
So we started this day just around the 5,000 mark. So now we're hovering around 6,000. And then also a shout out to some other folks here. Chris Zern with the $50 donation earlier. Lee Rollins with a $25 donation. And I'll eventually probably catch up as well as I keep refreshing the page. So good stuff.
Yeah, awesome. I like it.
Awesome. So if you've donated during that time, we'll make sure we get you guys out some prizes. We were given some Insert Coin keychains away during our segment with Josh Sway about Insert Coin, and then he's also going to ship you guys out some Blu-ray DVDs.
All right, I can hear you guys now.
Perfect.
Cool.
Yeah. So as you know, we've also got Brett. There he is. I heard.
Hey.
I heard.
Hey.
He's there.
How
there
are
he
you,
is.
Mr. Weiss?
I'm doing well, thanks. Just trying to figure out this technology stuff. I'm old school.
No, you're good.
You won't have to worry about it once Skynet takes over. Then we're good to go.
It's all over from there.
Yeah.
So, Brett, you're going to just see me, unfortunately, in Zoom. You have to look at my bald head for the next 45 minutes or so, but you'll also
I'll survive.
You'll survive. It's not too shiny right now.
Let us know if you get a glare.
Thanks. But you'll also hear two other voices, too, that people can see watching on the stream. So we've got both Kevin Molnar and Kevin Cabarello as well, who might be firing away some questions. So
how's it going,
Hey, guys.
Brett? Glad to have you here.
Definitely.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me. All I see right now is the Cleveland Gaming Classic logo.
Oh.
Well, that's a plus.
Well,
Yeah.
that's a plus. Yeah.
And I can see myself.
Oh, that's all right. Well, we can see you. People on
Okay.
on the stream can see you, so it's probably better that
For
way.
better, for worse.
For better, or for worse, anyway. So, but yeah, thanks for joining. People that don't know you, you mind telling us briefly about yourself, who you are, and what you do, and why you're here.
Well, I've been gaming forever, since 1975, since I discovered Pong and Midway's Gunfight in the arcades. And then Christmas of that year, my cousin got Pong, and that blew me away. I didn't know you could play video games in your house until he got Pong for Christmas. And then I, got a ColecoVision in '82. All my friends had Ataris and television, and I've just kind of grown up through the console eras and pretty much stayed current with each one. And I've been interested in reading and writing since I was a kid, thanks to my mom being interested in reading and taking me to bookstores. So those two things just merged. And I've been writing professionally about video games since 1997 when I started with the All Game Guide.
That's pretty cool. It's cool when
Thank you.
Yeah, when you do as a child and your parents' influence, like you said, going to bookstores and stuff, doing that. I remember doing stuff like that, going to the library and picking out books, and then it's obviously a passion, then it turns into something, which is a cool story.
Oh yeah, thanks. And I've written, just finished my 11th book, I believe it is, the NES Omnibus Volume 1, which is, I have the advanced copy here, and the book will be out early to mid-December.
That thing is ginormous.
I ordered that.
That is awesome.
I think I backed
thanks.
that. Yeah, I backed that on Kickstarter a couple months ago, so I'm excited about that.
I appreciate that.
But I think that's A through L, is it?
A through L, yeah. It was going to be A through M, and the publisher realized that was too weighted. It was going to be, the two books were going to be two different sizes, so they made it A through L. Because my SNES Omnibus books, as you can see here, that worked out A through M and N through Z. And then for just the way the library was, A through L worked out with the NES.
That's funny.
So,
I would never thought about it because you have to think there's probably a lot.
I feel like S has to be the winner.
Everything's either star or super. Or,
are you incorporating does Mario fall under M or does Mario fall under S for Super Mario?
Right?
Or
I go by the exact game title, so
Okay.
the Super Mario.
so there's got to be a lot of S's.
There's got to be a ton of S's.
Yeah.
And of course, the original Mario Brothers game is going to be in the second volume in
sure.
the NES Omnibus.
Wow. So how do you know offhand how many are in that A through L? I can't even. I'm trying to.
Over 350, 360, something like that, around that number. Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's basically a write-up for every U.S. release for the NES from A through L, supplemented by quotes from other sources, magazines, websites, things like that, and something I call Insider Insights, which are nostalgic stories from other writers. So my first series of books was actually the very first series of its type, the Classic Home Video Game series. This is sort of like an encyclopedia style set of books. There's 3 volumes, and they're just just a write-up for each game. Well, with the Omnibus book series I've started, we're talking, much bigger thing here with full color, screenshots and the whole deal. So I've, when my first Classic Home Video Games book came out in 2007, this was my first book in general, first book I ever wrote, 2007, Classic Home Video Games, 72 through 84, covering Atari, ColecoVision, and Intellivision, and all that good stuff. That was my first book, and that was when retro gaming was just starting to take off with the Wii Shop channel, the Angry Video Game Nerd, and a number of other factors. eBay prices were starting to go up on games at this point, and so my book just sort of coincidence or whatever you want to call it, or just because I was in the retro gaming scene for a very long time, it sort of came out around the time when retro gaming was really starting to take off. It was the first book to completely catalog and describe and review, every game for such classic consoles as the Intellivision, ColecoVision, Atari 5200. Leonard Herman beat me to the punch with the 2600 with his ABC to the VCS. But my book series had a lot of firsts as far as the Genesis, Neo Geo, TurboGrafx, and all those systems being fully covered for the very first time.
Now, did you get to play the majority of these games that you covered, or?
Oh, absolutely. I wrote for the All Game Guide beginning in 1997, and I did a ton of work for them, doing descriptions, synopses, reviews, and I was an editor for the All Game Guide as well. That was this massive database whose objective was to catalog, describe, and review every game for every console, every computer, and everything. So I did that for several years. And just growing up with all these games, I had to borrow games from store owners. I had to, order instruction manuals. I would get lots of instruction manuals online. I'd order a lot of NES instruction manuals, 100 of them off eBay, just because the cartridges are so accessible. The manuals with all the information is harder to find. So I had to pull a lot of strings and get a lot of, had to borrow a lot. And I've got a pretty massive game collection myself. So yeah, absolutely.
Any game specifically that you remember that gave you a really hard time, whether it be trying to find information or trying to find the right words, what to say about it in any of your books?
Well, there's definitely a challenge with a lot of the role-playing games because I'm not a big role-playing game fan in general. And so I'll spend some time with those games, but I'm not going to grind away for 100 hours. I just don't have the time. And so I'll do just sort of a general synopsis for some of those kind of games. But you still get a good idea of what the games are about. And games like Highlight and, there's just some real grind fest that just are very kind of a pain to go through. But then I have a lot of fun, with games I love, like, some of the more simple stuff like Donkey Kong and Mario Brothers and, referring to the NES and Popeye. And, so I have Gradius. I have a lot of fun writing these books, but there's definitely some slogs with some of these games. I'm not a big fan of the point and click genre or the, strategy games and all that. I prefer action titles, platformers, shooters and that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's fun, but it's also a lot of work too.
Did you ever run into a game, you mentioned RPGs, but did you ever run into a game that's like, I just can't play this. What is this?
You have to. He has to play it.
It's so broken. Well, I have to. So what I'll do, if a game is just so broken or I'm just so terrible at it, I'll look on YouTube for long play videos.
Okay.
That way I can get through a level.
Yeah.
Without, I'll find out, how did they do that? How did they get through the level? Or at least I'll get to see some of the later levels that I couldn't access. Or I'll use cheat codes or whatever. And that kind of thing. So yeah, that comes up sometimes, and I'll just look online at the long play videos because you get a really good idea of what's in later levels. And if you can't access those, or you just aren't good enough at that game, or you can't find the right cheat code or whatever, you can at least see, later levels of the games. So it works out that way.
How long does it take to kind of go through that process? Like you've got to go through the entire NES or SNES library playing these games. Like how long does that take?
Well, each book, let's see. So my first book came out in 2007. It's 2020, and 7, 8 of my books are gaming books. So each one takes a couple of years to write, and I'll typically play the games in the evening, and then get up early the next morning, fresh to write. So that's how that process works.
And then do you take notes as you played, or like how does that process?
Yeah, I've got spiral notebooks all over the place. I'm taking notes as I write. And as I play the games, I'll take notes about, particular, the controls or the graphics or sounds or whatever, just as I go. And that without the notes really help. There's so many games to keep track of and to catalog and document and describe and critique and everything that taking notes definitely helps.
Is there a game you would recommend fully? I mean, just obviously you mentioned Super Mario Brothers and like some of the classics, but like, was there a game that hasn't gotten the recognition it deserves that you feel like it's one of the best games and I don't understand why other people feel this way?
Well, there's some NES hidden gems that people should check out. There's a game called Trog, and it's a maze game.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just look at you funny if you say Trog because that's kind of a funny name.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know about it. It's based on an arcade game. And I never actually saw it in the arcades back in the day, but I discovered it through the working on these books through the NES. And it's a fantastic maze game. And it's got some interesting twists to it that you don't find in just typical maze game. Turn into a dinosaur and all this cool stuff. Cool. So I definitely recommend that. Bucky O'Hare is a really cool superhero game. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Power Blade's cool. You can throw boomerangs at enemies. That's
my
fun
favorite.
Power Blade never got good recognition.
Really?
No, I don't know why. Like should have.
Yeah, I think it's a little underrated. Mighty Final Fight is kind of a hard game to find, but you play little junior versions of the Final Fight characters. So there's definitely some hidden gems there.
Yeah, you're naming games that for some people would be like a mortgage payment to try and find here.
Yeah, some of these you may want to get through emulation. And the coolest story I have actually goes back to, it's not a great story or anything, but it's just a game that really made a huge impression on me. It goes back to my earliest book, Classic Home Video Games. 72 to 84, as I referenced. For the Odyssey 2, I had written, I was almost completely finished with the book, the Classic Home Video Games book. I'd written about every system, including the Microvision and the Bally Astrocade and the all these obscure consoles, RCA Studio 2 and all this. And there was one game left I had to do called Killer Bees for the Odyssey 2. Nobody I knew had this game, and I couldn't access it anyhow. None of the store owners I had, I just couldn't get this game, so I bought it on eBay, and so I had to wait a little bit to finish the book. And so I played this, and I was blown away. I can't even hardly describe the gameplay without referring to my book, because it's such an odd action game. And if you want to play a game that's truly creative, and there's never been anything else like it, try Killer Bees on the Odyssey 2. And that's probably that's just the definitive hidden gem for a relatively obscure console, a game that most people haven't heard of. That is a hidden gem of all hidden gems, Killer Bees.
Very cool. And then, like you were saying, with some of these like hard to find games for you, it's in order to go kind of in depth on like getting like the gameplay or being able to actually sit down and physically play it. It's if you can't find it out in the wild, or are you able to do you have like contacts with either like can you find like the game developers? Are you able to, if they're not defunct, can you find these companies that you might be able to get in touch with some of the people that had worked on programming or testing or anything along those lines? Or it's how deep in the rabbit hole do you have to go on some of these?
It's more just a description of the gameplay elements with some critiques. So there was really no developer involvement needed. I had access to the games and everything, and I even played some of the games, just emulated to a disc that someone had given me, and just the ones that are harder to find. But for the later books, the omnibus books, which are more expansive, those I have talked to a few developers and programmers, and I've gotten quotes from programmers, just from other sources about playing these games, just to go into a little more depth of the history of the game, as opposed to just the gameplay elements and critiques and everything. So the classic home video game books are pretty basic, just as far as synopsis of the game with some critiques, but the omnibus books do go into a little more depth with some developmental history and stuff like that.
Would you say? I'm just curious.
Like David Warhol, for example, he worked on some NES games. He was one of the old Intellivision Blue Sky Rangers. Worked on television games. Well, he worked on some NES games as well, and some. So he provided some information and some quotes, so that was awesome. So some stuff like that.
Do you put in your own opinion on the game in your books? I'm just curious on that. Or
I do, yeah. Games that I'm really passionate about, one way or another, I'm not afraid to say, hey, this is a terrible game, or this is a great game. And some games I'm just.
That's awesome. What would you say? I'm curious. And your writing process, when writing these books, is there?
Hello?
Can you hear Kevin still?
Can you still hear me?
Suddenly stopped hearing everyone.
Hello.
We can hear you still.
Test one. Test one.
Hello.
Can you hear me? Blink if say nothing if you can't hear me.
Say nothing if you can't hear us. Are you still there? Can you hear us? Let's see.
We have lost audio.
Sorry, we dropped for a sec. We are good now. You should be able to hear us. We're
so you
back.
can hear me now?
Oh, yeah, we can.
Yep, so we can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah. No worries.
Okay. I was
back.
curious with your writing process. Is there a certain way you convey your ideas into this? Like, do you have a format? More so of how do you deal with? I've heard the phrase a lot of the times, the blank page. Like, how do you overcome that kind of obstacle when it comes to writing books? Phooey. Kevin, can you try?
Check. Yeah. Can you hear me here, Brett?
We'll see. We're working on maybe getting the audio reconnected here. We'll see.
We might need the panda up here or something.
Panda.
Bear with us here.
Yeah, sorry about this here, Brett. If you can hear us, it's unfortunately we're unable to hear you here at the moment.
We'll see what's happening. We're reconnecting.
We're actively working on this.
Reconnecting.
Here.
This is what they call making it up in the biz.
This is why the live stream is the best way to go. It's
why we always
do stuff
live.
on the fly. So.
How we do things.
Mm-hmm.
John, do you know if you can hear us, or is it going out to the stream, or? We can hear him. He's saying he can't hear us. I don't know why he can't hear us.
Maybe it's a gag.
Maybe he's playing a little
maybe
joke on us.
he's keeping the straight face on.
I don't know.
Yeah, I like that.
I haven't touched any of the audio.
Same here.
Zoom is getting a little wild, but Maybe I need to leave the Zoom and re-come back in. Should I try that, John?
Should be
Hello,
good.
Can you hear us again? See
Any
if
luck?
you can hear us. Hello, Bueller. We'll see if we're connected back to Brett. Brett, can you hear us? Can you give a thumbs up or thumbs down? Thumbs up, thumbs down. He's not seeing us. Are you hearing us at all, Brett? Nothing?
He said he was. I don't know if he was
I don't think
able
he
to
was
see
seeing
you.
us at all either.
Yeah, shoot.
Let's see what we can do here.
I can't hear you.
Yeah, I know. We're trying to. Can't hear us for some reason. I don't know why.
Still can't see us either.
Does he have to
can
change his audio? Try.
Can't hear anybody.
Yeah, we haven't had this happen yet, so we're going to kind of work through things here with Brett, see if we can get it back on. We were cruising smooth. I don't know what happened there. Maybe I'll leave the Zoom and come back. Let's try something creative here.
Like, how do you convey your ideas from in your head or in your notes to the page?
Well, necessity, really.
Okay.
Just sheer, having to pay the bills kind of cuts through any writer's block or anything like that. And writer's block, I don't know if that's the direction you were going, but
Yeah, that was partially.
I mean, I've been doing this for a really long time. It was hard. It definitely was harder early on. I mean, I would stare at the blank screen, the blank page, if you will, and really struggle to know how to word a review or a synopsis or whatever. And I look back at some of my old, I kept all my old writings from the All Game Guide. It's defunct now, but I printed out everything I wrote. And I look at some of that stuff. It's pretty rough. And I definitely had a hard time articulating what I wanted to say, because that was, it was when I first really started taking writing seriously. In the 1990s, the early 90s, I started writing some short stories, but that never, that was just some small press science fiction and stuff. And the All Game Guide in 97, and then the Comics Buyer's Guide around that same time is when I really started writing professionally. And it was harder earlier on, but now it's just second nature. If I've got the notes in front of me, I can knock out what I want to say pretty, I don't say easy. It's still work. It's just, it comes more naturally now that I've done it for a long time. What they say is true. Read a lot, write a lot if you want to be a writer.
Okay, that's very compelling and helpful. Thank you very much on that. Do you feel like you run into kind of like the same games over and over? Like, do you feel like you say the same exact things about different games a lot? And if so, how do you?
That's
try
a
to
good
avoid
question.
that?
I definitely had to reach for some adjectives. You definitely want to.
Yeah.
You don't want to just keep saying this is a great game or this is awesome or something. So I try to mix it up a little bit, but then again, you don't want to sound like a thesaurus either, where you're just trying to reach too hard. So there's a fine balance, and I try to mix it up, where it just doesn't sound. If you're reviewing Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man, I'll look at the two and make sure, I'll try to make sure they're worded differently, so you're not just, Pac-Man's not gobbling dots, and then I don't say the exact same thing about Miss Pac-Man. So I try to mix it up.
You can only write so much about a bow on one of them. So.
Right.
So.
But I definitely try to, make it. I try to be concise and informative at the same time. So concision of, it's real important what words you put down. And I spend a lot of time editing, trimming and, just trying to get each one down to a science where you have all the information you need without any, fluff on there.
Mm-hmm.
So
I have a question too. Obviously, I think we talked about this in another earlier segment too. Like the video game community is very, not like other, unlike just the same I'll say as other communities too. They're very vocal, right? So if you say something, Brett knows where I'm going, right?
Oh.
So if you say something, and people have a different opinion, you can kind of go down a rabbit hole in some places.
Yeah.
So, have there been any of those type of situations where, whether you're, again, inserting your opinion in review or synopsis of a game and, has there been any kind of blowback or pushback or feedback from
Well,
the
it's
community?
funny because some people. So the first series of books are, on the cover they're called reference guides, classic home video games. Insert year here, complete reference guide. Well, some people complain, I don't want to hear your opinions in something called a reference guide. I want it to be like an encyclopedia or a dictionary where there's no opinions. There's just gameplay, gameplay description and all that kind of stuff. Well, I didn't think that would be much fun. I thought, if I'm writing about, let's say Super Mario Brothers 3 for the NES, it'd be real hard to write that without talking about how great it is. And if I'm writing about something like, let's say, Snake for the Atari 2600, it's hard to write about that with just about how broken the controls are and what a terrible game that is. So I definitely wanted to include opinions. That makes it fun for me. I think that makes it more fun for the reader. And I've also heard, some people have had the other end. They want more of my opinions. So with the omnibus books, I include quotes from other sources, like I mentioned. So I'll quote respected websites. I'll quote vintage magazines. You'll get a good look at the game of how it was perceived back in the day. Like Demon Attack for the 2600 was just absolutely slobbered all over at the time it came out. And so it's interesting to read reviews back in the day of that, just about how great it was, and just to does it hold up? So I like to. It does, by the way, but. I like to include my opinion and then other opinions by others as well. And the insider insights, the nostalgic stories that other people contribute to the omnibus books, they have their opinions as well. So I think the opinions just make the books more fun to read.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I have had some blowback, people saying that, and I've also, so with one of my books, The 100 Greatest Console Video Games. This is my bestseller. This covers 77 to 87. So you've got the beginning, the Atari 2600 release, up to the first 2 or 3 years of the NES, the test market in the first couple of years of the NES. In that book, the bottom line, it's my opinion, what fits into the 100 greatest games of all time from 77 to 87. But I also weighed, just their, objective qualities and all that kind of thing. If you can call, if you can say in a game is objectively great, if you can say that. But Mike Tyson's Punch-Out did not make the 100. It came out in 87, so it was eligible. And I get people like, are you crazy? That's a great game. That's one of the all-time classics. But it just never resonated with me. And I just never really cared for it. The pattern recognition and all that, it's just not my kind of game. I'd rather play just a basic, either a fighting game or
hold on,
a boxing game that's more like a fighting game.
The table just flipped over.
Yeah,
in the studio.
It's really funny you mentioned Mike Tyson's Punch-Out.
Did you watch? Or I don't know if you were watching earlier, but Kevin Cabarello did Mike Tyson's Punch-Out blindfolded. So he flipped over a table.
I saw a little bit of that. Yeah.
He walked out and he just just rammed your car. I think he just rammed his car into the side of the house.
Well, let me tell you what. So at the back of this book, there's an appendix of the next 100. So I acknowledge a lot of the games that didn't make the cut that people think should be in there and that I think should have made the cut but didn't. So there's the next 100. So Mike Tyson's Punch-Out is in the appendix at the back of the book, and I do acknowledge it as one of the all-time classics, but it was just ultimately it was 100 games that resonated with me the most, that I considered the greatest. So it didn't quite make it, but maybe if it was the 101 greatest console video games, it would have been in there. But I do get a lot of blowback from that, and I'll happily take it. I'll admit that.
But that's understandable. And this is Kevin Cabarello talking. I don't think you have me on the stream, but for you to be able to write these books, it's because video games is becoming an ever popular, just growing medium. It's hard to, it's universally known. It's kind of like the music industry. Things are subjective. Like to be able to kind of write things without having either a personal bias or something along those lines is hard. So for you to come out and say, for example, that book where it's like, here's the 100 greatest console games from 77 to 87, it's people that buy the book, they may not, completely agree with you, but in the same token, you're giving them information about stuff that they may have never even considered, or, it's more information that, it gives them a broader palette, for video games, or maybe,
I included some dark horse picks in there, not because I shoehorned them in just because I genuinely think they're great, like Turmoil for the 2600, an obscure game that's just absolutely fantastic. And And the thing is 77 to 87 was such an interesting year because you've got all these systems that nobody really thinks much about, like the Bally Astrocade, which has a game in there. Fairchild Channel F. It has a game in the appendix at the back of the book. There's a really good Pong type game that was really great for the Fairchild Channel F. It didn't quite make the cut, but it is in the appendix at the back of the book. And people have told me, they've discovered games. There are several Vectrex games in there for people that have never played that console. It's got some spectacular titles. So those made the cut. And as people have told me, they've discovered, and a lot of people are interested in retro gaming and just, the pre-NES stuff, but they may not know much about it. Well, the 100 Greatest book will give you just sort of a guidepost. If you are going to explore the really old games, the Atari era, plus the first few years of the NES, what is worth playing other than the ones you've heard of, other than Super Mario Brothers, other than Pac-Man? What is really good from that time period? So I've got a lot of good feedback on that.
How much or how many times would you say did you have to revise that list of top 100?
Oh, it was a painful process. Yeah. It was really tough to really narrow it down because there's a lot of games in the back of the book, like Mega Mania for the 2600, a great fixed screen shooter. Didn't quite make it. And that was, I hated that. And that's one reason I created the appendix at the back of the book, just because there are so many games that didn't make it. Smithereens for the Odyssey 2. And there's just so many great games in the back of the book that didn't quite make the cut. Like Thunder Castle and Tower of Doom for the Intellivision are two games that hardcore Intellivision fans just worship. They're in the appendix. They didn't quite make the cut. Tarzan for the ColecoVision, a great early beat 'em up. Before beat 'em up was even a genre. Tarzan, an original game from '84, ColecoVision made the back of the book. Those are great games that just didn't quite make the cut. So it was a painful process. So yeah, that was tough. It took playing and replaying a lot of games, and so yeah, it was difficult.
Cool. Switching over real quick from games, have you done? I've seen you've also written about. You're a big fan of movies, and so have you written about movies and done the same thing by trying?
I haven't written any. I've got a book called Retro Pop Culture A to Z, from Atari 2600 to zombie films. So that does have some movie writing in it. But I've written for Antique Week, a weekly newspaper, for over a decade. And I've written a lot of articles about movie collectibles. And within those articles, I can write a lot about the history. Like I did a cover features for a lot, like when Gone with the Wind had, I believe, its 70th anniversary. I did a big feature on Gone with the Wind. I wrote about Aliens, the 30th anniversary or something of Alien, I believe it was. And just a bunch of different movies. I'll celebrate their anniversary with Antique Week. You write about the collectibles and stuff, but within that, I'll write critiques and some history of the film and stuff. So I've done a ton of movie writing for Antique Week, and I wrote for the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, a major metropolitan newspaper, for over a decade as well. And I'm still writing for Antique Week, but Star-Telegram, I don't write for them anymore because they just mostly use stuff they grab off the wire to save money. They reprint articles from other papers. But for over a decade, I wrote, movie roundups for the Star-Telegram. Like if a big movie was in theaters that had something to do with zombies, I might write, the 10 best zombie films or stuff like that. So yeah, I've written for movies a lot for different magazines and newspapers and stuff, but I haven't written a book yet. Maybe at some point.
So kind of like the modern day equivalent to that would be the on YouTube, like the Watch Mojo top 10 so-and-so video. So, okay.
Yeah, I've done a lot of that kind of stuff. Plus some the Antique Week stuff. I mean, I've written up to 2,000 word articles about different movies for Antique Week, so I think it's a little more depth there.
Any any special articles from Antique Week that stand out to you or anything like that? I mean, you mentioned Gone with the Wind and Aliens, but
well, it's funny, for Antique Week, I have written such an enormous variety of material for that magazine because I do auction reports. I do when you hear about one of these celebrities selling off all their items, I will do a report on that, what everything went for. Like the Beatles, Sgt. Pepper's 50th anniversary, I wrote a big feature on that. Wow. And man, it's just a ton of stuff. I've done a cover feature for the Atari 2600 and for the NES for Antique Week. I mean, it is all over the map. And I've written about everything from old, in ancient China, they used seals that they would imprint on old documents instead of autographs. I've written about those. I mean, it's insane. I've written, just as a professional writer, you want as a freelancer, you'll write about just about anything as long as it's honest, paying work. Because as a freelancer, you want these jobs. So I've written about just about everything.
Cool. You guys got
I want to ask.
It just happens to be video games are just about my favorite, most fun thing to write about, and movies too. Collect all the geeky stuff I love writing about.
I wanted to ask about the Encyclopedia of Kiss.
I too. Oh, I got a few questions on that too.
Yeah.
How did that happen? Like, are you a big Kiss fan? Like, what's the? I mean,
Oh
like,
my
you're looking at
gosh.
I'm looking,
So-
obviously at your publications and the history, and then all of a sudden there's one in there, Encyclopedia of Kiss. I'm like, there's definitely something there.
Right. Well, I mean, in 1977, I was 10 years old. That's when the 2600 came out, and all my friends got them. In 1977, 1978, Kiss was at the absolute peak of their popularity. And man, I could not have been a more hardcore Kiss fan. I mean, Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park coming out on TV in 1978 was like one of the biggest moments of my life as a kid. My best friend next door, we would play Kiss records on his old record player, and on the big, furniture type, console stereo in my house, my living room. I would play 8 tracks in my dad's truck, and he was very indulgent there. And I was just a hardcore Kiss. I had Kiss posters and magazine cutouts all over my walls. I made a Kiss scrapbook. I would hide, Kiss magazines and stuff in my school book so I could read about Kiss when I was supposed to be paying attention at school. I mean, you name it. I was a diehard. I would give my dad pictures from like 16 magazine and, Hit Parader and all that of Kiss, and he would take them to work and he would make photocopies for me. I would hand out at school for some reason. I mean, I was just like I was some kind of Kiss evangelist or something.
Yeah.
But I remember, I discovered the band in '75. I remember Kiss Alive and just hearing Nothing to Lose and Peter Criss's backing vocals on that and just thinking, wow, this is the most amazing stuff I've ever heard. And I grew up rock and roll. My sister's 7 years older than me, and my brother's 5 years older than me. So I grew up when I was a little kid and my friends were listening to the Bay City Rollers, I was listening to Rush, Mott the Hoople, Black Sabbath, and all this stuff. So hardcore, rock and Kiss fan from as far as I can remember.
Okay, I think the big question that follows is what makeup of which member are you donning when
Absolutely.
When you're following? Which one?
Well, that's funny. Which ones? What makeup have I worn of the band?
No. What if you're going to a Kiss you're going to a Kiss concert?
Who you rocking?
Who you rocking as?
Well, it's funny enough. I've never actually done that. I've never worn Kiss makeup, but my favorite all-time band member by far. Well, I don't know if by far because I love the band, but I'm an Ace Frehley guy, and I have been since I was a little kid. When I was a kid, most kids went to Gene Simmons. That was their favorite because of the monster and all that stuff and the blood and the fire. But man, I was Ace all the way because I was always a big science fiction fan, and I love his makeup and his costumes and just how he's kind of cool and spacey and aloof on stage, and just kind of loved his guitar and everything. So yeah, I'm an Ace guy for sure. Makeup and everything.
Favorite Kiss song?
Probably. I just did a YouTube video, my 10 favorite Kiss songs of all time.
Awesome.
And on any given day, it could change, because I'm just a hardcore fan. And all the songs of my favorites are definitely from the original makeup era, from 73 when they started to 79. But if I had to pick a favorite, it might be something like, Shout It Out Loud is top 10, Shock Me is top 10. Man, there's just so many. And, I get Rock and Roll All Night in Detroit Rock City. Those are so great, but I kind of got burned out on them, strangely enough. I don't get burned out on too much of my favorite stuff like Ozzy or Kiss and all that. But
overplayed.
Some of that stuff that actually got some mainstream plays, got a little tired of. But yeah. And there's a song on Love Gun called Then She Kissed Me. It's a cover of an old 50s tune. And people hate on that song because it's 50s and kind of cheesy, but I love it. That's one of my favorite songs. And it's just great. I love Destroyer and Love Gun, Dynasty, so many great albums.
Okay, this may be blasphemy, but I'm going to switch it up on it. You have the power to totally destroy and eliminate one Kiss song from existence. Are you taking one out of it? Is there just one song that's just, you can Thanos snap it out of here?
Burn Bitch Burn is really bad. That was a non-makeup era song. It's just got obvious stupid rhyming, and it's just an ugly song. So yeah, I could do without that one.
All right, burn that bitch.
Yeah. It's a lazily written song, and it's just dumb.
There's a
so I'll
fitting
take that one
answer.
out.
Yeah.
Very.
Yeah.
You also too in that piece there you mentioned you do I know you do a lot on YouTube. I want to give you a chance because you do a ton of stuff not only in terms of publications and your writing, but you are incredibly active on your YouTube channel. I want to talk about that for a second.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I never really thought I would be doing this many YouTube videos, but the publishing industry is not what it used to be. Even 10 or 15 years ago, when I was just writing constantly, so many of the magazines and newspapers I used to write for are gone.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
So, I'm still writing for Old School Gamer magazine, for Antique Week, and several other publications. I just recently wrote most of and edited a ColecoVision magazine that's going to be coming out pretty soon as part of the Opcode Vision Super Game Module. ColecoVision Fan Club is coming out, and I'm the editor of that magazine. But anyway, publishing is not what it used to be. So I don't have nearly as many writing jobs as I used to be. So I'm just sort of trying to evolve with the times. And so many gamers go to YouTube, just for entertainment or information. Right. And so I've transitioned over there, and I started a podcast a few years ago, but my podcasting partner passed away just unexpectedly.
Ooh,
and so, yeah, it was a weird deal. He was a good friend of mine, great guy, hardcore PS4 fan, and I would bring in the old school. He would bring in the new school. So we had kind of a cool thing going. And so I took a couple of years off from any kind of YouTube stuff because I was just really dismayed by that and didn't know what to do. And I got to thinking, so what would separate me from other YouTubers? And, there's so much gaming content and it's so crowded. I need to separate myself from the pack a little bit. And I said, well, I'm super old, unlike most YouTubers. So that's one thing that's different. And I grew up with this stuff and I have stories to tell. So that's why my channel is just Brett Weiss, but the logo is Tales from a Retro Gamer. And so I tell stories about, just what it was like gaming in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, just different either finds I made or Christmases. And I've had some pretty cool interviews on there. I just recently interviewed the executive producer of the Game Chasers movie.
Oh, okay.
Congrats.
Okay.
Very nice.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. He came over. He lives in Dallas, and I live in Fort Worth. So he just came over to my house, and we hung out. He's a good friend of mine anyway. And so, yeah, I just do all kinds of stuff. I've interviewed John Lester on my channel, and yeah, it's just been a lot of fun. I was recently on the immortal John Hancock's channel, so that was great. And but yeah, I'm having a lot of fun on there, and I don't think I would do it if it wasn't fun, because I'm not hardly making any money off of it. But it is nice exposure, and I've gotten some more readers. People have discovered my books through YouTube, and every writer wants more. Most, maybe some weirdos notwithstanding, most writers want more readers and want to sell more books. So YouTube has helped, just bring my branding, everything to more readers. So that's been nice. But overall, it's just a lot of fun. I'm having a blast doing it. I'd probably put stuff on there far less frequently if it wasn't fun.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's fun. You're putting stuff out all the time. I know it. Yeah. I've been catching up with the people scamming over the Xbox Series X's and PS5s. And
well, sometimes I'll do vlog stuff.
No,
I'll just get on here with no post-production, no editing, and I'll just get on here and talk about what's going on in gaming.
Great.
But then, once or twice a week, I'll do an episode and I'll submit that to my editor, and he'll add some gameplay footage and some little humor and stuff. And that's great. I really appreciate it. This guy named James Pledger, he owns Pledger Designs, and you can find that online, where he does a lot of really cool branding and logos and video work and stuff. So he's been great.
Nice.
And my son, my older videos, my son would edit, and he was just doing it as a favor. He would put in screenshots and some stuff like that. So props to him for doing that for a couple of years there. He wasn't a fan of it, but he's a good kid. And I say kid, he's in his 20s.
Oh yeah.
But he's great. He really helped me. He taught me, about how to upload, because I'm old school, man. I am super old school.
Yeah.
So many of my friends are just so much more up on technology than me. And so he, showed me how to upload videos to YouTube and how to edit things on your phone and within YouTube and all this stuff. And so I owe him a lot for just being on YouTube at all.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, how do you feel about the modern gaming world nowadays? Like, with the Call of Duties and all the The new stuff. What do you think it's like? They're taking a step forward with everything that they're doing with the cinematics, or do you think they're taking a step back where it's more about how a game looks as opposed to how it plays?
Well, I think there's positives and negatives to the modern scene. Forgetting about independent projects for a moment, just talking about mainstream gaming, like going into Walmart or GameStop or whatever. Like back in the day, we'd go to Toys R Us or Funko Land. Just doing that. Modern games, they're harder to get into for me because you have to sit. Sometimes it takes a couple of hours to even feel like you've really played the game because there's so much story and you're waiting, or either for it to update or upload, or to get to a point in the game where you're actually doing something. There's so much exposition where you're not actually doing much. In the old days, you put in a game, you're pretty much fighting for your life right away.
Oh yeah.
And I really enjoy that immediacy of the older games where you're like, you play Robotron or Defender or, even Pac-Man or Miss Pac-Man. You are on the run immediately and you are instantly having a good time. With the newer stuff, it's just more of a slow burn, and you're waiting for this, and it's just an investment of time. If you get a new game like Breath of the Wild, you play it for 2 or 3 hours, you really don't feel like you've done a ton. But if you play the original Zelda, you spend that much time with it, you feel like you've gotten somewhere. So anyway, and my sense of direction isn't the best. So with modern games, when you're, I'm actually better at Twitch games than I am at open world games because I've even at my advanced age, better reflexes than I do, than I do. Directional, I like my GPS in my car and my phone. That way. So anyway, I do prefer older games, but I do have a Switch, and my son has a PlayStation 4, and I'm thinking about getting a PS5 just so I can have be up on what's going on, and so I can play Rags Morales because I really like Spider-Man on the PS4. And I do some modern gaming. I love, just going back a few years, Bayonetta was phenomenal. Yeah. I love the Ninja Gaiden remake on the 360.
So it is Gaiden.
So I've played quite a few modern games and have enjoyed them quite a bit. And there's nothing, stuff like God of War. There is, you cannot go back to the old days and do anything like that. It's stuff like that. I love the 3D third-person hack and slash, like Maximo Ghost of Glory on the PS2.
Yeah.
So there are definitely
Maximo's a great one.
Major advantages to the modern stuff. Just the epic sweeping music and the storyline and all that. So if I'm in the right frame of mind and I have some time and I just want to kick back on the couch, I can get into some modern games. It's just probably 8 times out of 10 I come into my game room, I'm either firing up Atari or PS2 or something like that. So. But yeah, I'm all over the map, but mostly older stuff. But yeah, there's, like I said, there's positives and negatives about the modern scene. But you mentioned Call of Duty. I was, other than Halo, in the old, it's funny, Doom, Halo, Dark Forces, those are great, and I had a lot of fun with those. But for some reason, Call of Duty and some of these other first-person shooters, I'm just not very good at them. I'm not a huge fan of first-person shooters. The controls just don't work for me.
It felt weird with Halo specifically because I felt like as the franchise progressed, it slowly turned into Call of Duty. Like,
I love the first couple of them, and I call those first 2 Halo games the first-person shooters for people that don't like first-person shooters. Exactly. They just have a great feel to them.
So you brought up one thing, and Kevin and I, we're looking at each other for a second, because I feel like you are hopefully the source of truth for this since you've written enough about it. Okay, so I've got 2 questions, and I'm doing a time check here too. Gaiden or Gaiden?
Ninja Gaiden or Ninja Gaiden?
Yeah, I know. I typically...
No, you got to lock in.
I go back and forth. I think it's probably Gaiden.
You're the guy.
I think that's how you're supposed to say it, but I'll find myself saying both.
See, he writes all these books. He's got to cater on both sides of the coin here. He has to play it safe. Yeah,
I said it's probably Gaiden.
Okay.
I say Gaiden's probably the way to go, but I catch myself slipping and saying both. Okay. So we'll put it that way.
And then Ryu or
definitely Ryu.
Ryu. Like rye bread.
Like rye bread.
Yeah. That's what I've always said. I may be wrong. I've heard people say Ryu. I've heard very important people say Ryu, so I could be wrong.
I just figured if we're going to ask, you'd probably be the guy that would know.
I got a stupid one. Is it Guile or Gully?
Guile.
Blanca or Blanca?
Oh, we
Definitely got it.
stop.
We'll be here for
Blanca.
another hour.
Oh goodness.
I say Blanca.
Ken or Keen?
No, stop.
Okay.
Now we have derailed. This has been great, Brett. We appreciate you coming on. Sorry about
Yeah.
the little technical hiccup we had there too, but we recovered. We've been doing
Happens
this.
all the time.
Yeah, we've been at this for almost probably closing on to 20 hours now or so. So.
Well, I appreciate the marathon efforts you guys are doing.
Yeah,
Appreciate you being on with us.
Sincerely,
Happy to do it.
Yeah, appreciate you being here. Is there anything you want to plug before you go? Where people can check you out, follow you on social media, websites, YouTube channel. Go ahead and plug away.
Absolutely. So, going to keep it simple on YouTube. Just look for Brett Weiss. You can see the spelling right there: BRETTWEISS. Just subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate it. It's free and easy. And if you want to do a deep dive and check out my books, just go to brettweisswords.com. You can find links to all my social media and my books where I can, autograph books. I can send you one in the mail.
Yeah. Very good. And then the book coming out, it's NES Omnibus. It's A through L. And do you have a set date on that coming out next month, or?
NES Omnibus Volume 1. Amazon says December 8th.
Okay.
But I'll probably get my copies from the publisher around then. And then I will be mailing them out as I sign them. So just look for it in early to mid-December probably. And it is, if you want a signed copy direct from me, just go to brettweisswords.com and you can find the link to all my books. And with books I send out in the mail, I will typically send extras, like maybe one of my signed Twin Galaxies cards or a magazine or something else, just to get just a little bonus item or maybe some other signed item or something. So check it out.
And I don't even remember how much I paid for the A through. Like, was it around like $50 or something?
It's a $50 book.
Yeah, it's super reasonable. I mean, like you
massive
have that prop.
hardcover book with over 2,000 photos.
It's hard. Yeah. So I mean, when I was looking, I'm like, this is, and I'm not just saying this, but it's hardcover. The photos and quality and the color, like. I was like, okay, yeah, done. Like, this is great.
A good Christmas.
Well, thank you. It is by Schiffer Publishing. I'm going to give them a shout out. Okay. They do. Cool. Now, I submit obviously the text and I submit the images as well. But Schiffer designs the book. They have the book printed. They publish it and everything. So it's very perfect. This is a major publisher that has all their books in store, or a lot of their books in stores and everything. My 100 Greatest book. This is Schiffer also. Every Barnes & Noble in the U.S. ordered at least 3 copies of this one, so that was nice.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, yeah, Schiffer, major publisher, so they definitely do quality work, very durable as well.
Cool. Well, thanks again, Brett. Really appreciate it, and thanks for helping us out by joining the stream and promoting what we're doing for United Cerebral Palsy. We'll let you go, Brett. Have a great rest of your evening.
All right, I'm happy to help, and thanks you guys for having me on.
Thanks again, sir.
Thank you, sir.
It was a pleasure.
We'll see you.
You bet. We'll talk to you later.
All right, thanks, Brett. So
you bet.
That was cool.
Another great interview.
Yeah. I love how these interviews, it's like we bring somebody on, we talk about one topic, and then it just
goes off the rails.
No, but in a good way.
But it's good, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So.
I was gonna, I kind of bit my tongue on it, and I'm kind of glad I did. When we were talking about Kiss, there was a part where Kiss went to professional wrestling.
And dear, 2000s?
Yeah, WCW. They did a professional wrestler that represented Kiss called the Kiss Demon. And it's infamous. He debuted in
a Kiss.
Kiss
streak of talking about wrestling facts.
Yeah,
we should have had our own wrestling panel and sat here, but we don't have the time for it. But we've been able to fit it in a little bit.
I'm just saying that was.
But he was great.
Oh,
yeah,
another fantastic.
Just very informative, especially on the first 3, 4, 5 generations of console gaming. That was great to have Brett on here today.
The only question I didn't get to ask him was what's your favorite console?
I had that written down here. It was like Desert Island. You got one console. What do you pick and why?
I was going to ask a favorite console or favorite game. I could definitely tell. I think he's got an affinity for it sounds like whether the Atari or the television, some of that stuff. But I mean, he's written obviously extensively about everything. So
he seems really passionate about everything except for Mike Tyson's Punch Out. But that was standing.
He's getting a pass for me. That was a great interview. Seems like a great guy. I think, like you said, he had it in the appendix. So he thinks it's okay. So I think he's okay.
It just didn't resonate with him, which is a fair answer. Not everybody's going to be a fan of.
Plus, he's the second interview we've had this weekend to name drop the Fairchild Channel F, which just makes me super happy.
That's
so
exciting, right?
So that was great. So
but it was good. So Brett was officially, I think, our last
Our
Was he-
last live interview.
He's our last live interview. Whew.
Oh yeah, we got. We're moving into the
Guys.
We're moving to the 21st century for our next. Yeah.
Yes. So what we're gonna do? Yeah, I mean that was exhausting doing all those interviews. It was fun though. We had a great
Oh, yeah.
time.
Hit that trilogy.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna pop up the QR code on the screen. We're gonna pause for about a minute or two here, and we're gonna scan that QR code with your phone. Take you right to the GoFundMe charity page for United Cerebral Palsy. Right now we're at 6,000.
Yeah, we're over $6,000.
I think it's up here in the ether. So this is the QR code up here in the ether. Maybe let's see if I time that. It's up here in the ether. We're at $6,025. So please hit that QR code right now and scan it. Donate as little as $10. We're giving away that arcade 1-Up cabinet still tonight. That's going to happen around 9 o'clock Eastern. So donate now before you miss your chance to win that arcade 1-Up cabinet. Thank you, Vanna White. So hit that up. And then we're going to be right back. We're going to actually stream live the Smash Brothers Ultimate Tournament in partnership with the Unified Esports Association. They're actually out of the Kansas City area. So we're going to cut over to their Facebook live stream.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to watch them play some Smash and see what's happening there. We'll tune in on that. We'll see if we're going to commentate along with it. Do you guys know a lot about Smash?
I'm a Smash 64 guy. It's a shout out to all my Smash friends that are out there in the chat here that are watching. There's some Ultimate guys out there, but it's we'll see what they have to offer. It's I'm sure they have some commentators. We might be able to jump in and do stuff, but please stick around. We obviously keep the donations going in, and we also still have not only do we have the grand prize that we're giving away, that arcade 1-Up cabinet later in the evening, but we also have a lot of other prizes. All it just requires is a $10 donation. You can find the donation button at GameCleveland.com. I think while we're also doing the little break and doing the switchover, we'll figure out who else has donated here in the last hour. We'll make sure we give out some more prizes to you guys. We have we have what else do we still have? We have Balls Guarana that we're giving out.
We still got Balls Guarana, cases of ship. We got 16-bit gift cards. I think we still got a couple Dave and Buster's left.
Yeah.
But so right now we're going to cut over to the Smash Brothers after the commercial. Then we've got our cosplay panel. We've never done a cosplay panel.
No.
So Oh My Sophie. If you're following her, you can either watch it here live, and she's on Twitch. It's Oh My Sophie with 2 I's, SOPHII. She's going to be streaming that live on Twitch, our cosplay contest with a couple other guests. Then we're going to just regroup for a little bit, take a quick nap on stream for a half hour, and then go to Tecmo Super Bowl Finals at 7 o'clock. So hold on to your butts. We're going to be right back in about 2 minutes, and we'll cut over to some Smash. See you guys in a second.